Chapter 1061. Why did this scoundrel come to the heavenly jade mine? After the two of them walked far away, little girl Xing walked out of the shadows while muttering to herself. Although she was a bit confused, she still followed them. However, she hadn't even taken a few steps when she suddenly heard the sound of a car starting up. Her heart instantly jumped, and she quickened her steps to the entrance of the mine. Just as she was about to look for the source of the sound, she was shocked to see an off-road vehicle kicking up a cloud of dust and speeding towards the east. Cough, cough, cough. Caught off guard, little girl Xing choked on a few mouthfuls of dust. She covered her mouth and frowned. Although she was extremely unwilling, she still used her movement technique and followed the direction of the off-road vehicle. Xiao Chun sat comfortably in the car and played with his phone while using his divine sense to monitor little girl Xing's movements. He saw that she was coughing from the dust, and her face was covered in a layer of black dust. Her originally handsome and fair face now looked like a refugee. He couldn't help but feel that it was a bit funny. Damn Xiao Chun, you big bastard. As a cultivator, you actually have to ride in a car. I'm so angry. Cough, cough, cough. Little girl Xing stared at the off-road vehicle and curled her lips as she complained. But after saying a few words, her throat was choked by the dust. She quickly took out a handkerchief and covered her mouth. She didn't dare to say another word, and could only silently follow the off-road vehicle. Her heart was extremely angry. After driving for another 10 minutes, the off-road vehicle arrived at the main mining area. Jia Hongyong got off the vehicle and brought Xiao Chun into a room that had already been cleaned up. He personally brought over a large pile of unpolished spirit jade ore. He knew that Xiao Chun was about to use it, so he didn't say anything and simply took his leave. Although he was also very curious as to what Xiao Chun needed so many spirit jade ore for. Since Xiao Chun wasn't willing to reveal it, Jia Hongyong didn't ask anymore. In any case, it was young Master Jia Muzin's orders. He only needed to take care of the people. What does Xiao Chun need so many spirit jades for? Could it be to treat his injuries? At this moment, little Miss Xing had already rushed to the vicinity. She found a secluded place to hide, and happened to see Jia Hongyong give a bag of spiritual jades to Xiao Chun. She felt a little puzzled. When she saw the scene of Xiao Chun vomiting blood, she wanted to report it to Elder Sunday. However, just as she was about to make the call, she stopped. Little Miss Xing was a little uncertain. In her memory, every time Xiao Chun was injured, he would recover very quickly. In fact, when he was in the demonic star sect, he could even help her heal. Filled with suspicions, young Lady Xing didn't dare to act blindly without thinking. After hesitating for a long time, she put away her phone. If the information was wrong and Xiao Chun recovered after reporting, she would be scolded by Elder Sun again. That would be too unlucky. After calming down and carefully observing for a while, little Miss Xing saw that Xiao Chun had placed all the spiritual jades by his side. Then he closed his eyes and seemed to be circulating his mental cultivation method. Just like how he usually cultivated, he sat cross-legged quietly. The spiritual jades by his side also emitted a faint glow. Time passed minute by minute. Just as little Miss Xing was starting to feel a little impatient and wanted to go absent-minded, she suddenly realized that the glow of the spiritual jades by Xiao Chun's side was much fainter and fainter. What situation was this? Little Miss Xing immediately focused her attention and focused on observing the spiritual jades. She saw that after the last bit of light from the spiritual jades dissipated, the spiritual jades that had almost turned into rocks had all shattered and turned into a pile of powder that scattered on the ground. Little Miss Xing couldn't help but suck in a breath of cold air. It couldn't be. Could it be that Xiao Chun was using spiritual jades to cultivate? Why had she never heard of such a cultivation method before? Could it be that the mental cultivation method he cultivated was different from others? Just as little Miss Xing was at a loss, Xiao Chun let out a breath of turbid air and opened his eyes. He looked at the shattered spiritual jades around him and shook his head helplessly. The grade of these spiritual jades was too low, and there were too few of them. The energy stored within the spiritual jades was simply not enough for him to cultivate and break through. Even his injuries weren't able to heal much. It seemed like he had to find more high-grade spiritual jades. After making up his mind, Xiao Chen cleaned up the spiritual jades in his room and put on his clothes before walking towards the mine. Before he walked far, Xiao Chen felt that little Miss Xing was hiding behind a rock not too far away. She was sneakily staring at him. Xiao Chen frowned slightly. He didn't set up an illusion just now, so little Miss Xing must have seen the scene of him using the spiritual jades to cultivate. What should he do with her now? Since this last knew his secret, it was actually very dangerous to keep her here. However, he couldn't kill her to silence her. Towards this classmate of little Miss Xing, Xiao Chen had mixed feelings. Although Xiao Chen had set up an illusion during the competition and smashed the little person to scare her, he didn't really have the intention to kill her. Even if he snatched her spiritual jades, it was just a joke. In the end, he still gave it back. No matter what, when they were being chased by Ma Wuxia, she had also saved him and the young Mississippi. How could he make a move on his benefactor? Xiao Chen shook his head. Forget it. Since little Miss Xing didn't report this matter to her sect, then he should just ignore her for now. The most important thing now was to find high-grade spiritual jades to cultivate with. Hey, who are you, kid? This is a restricted area of the mine. You are not allowed to wander around. Hurry up and get lost. Just as Xiao Chen was deep in thought and walking forward, he was suddenly blocked by a burly guard. The guard stared at him with widened eyes and berated him loudly. Oh, I was just walking around and wanted to see the scenery. Can't I? Xiao Chen was a little depressed and said casually. He also blamed himself for being too careless. He forgot to inform Jia Hongyong before coming out. This was a little troublesome. Nonsense. This is a high-grade mine. It's all mountains and rocks. What scenery is there to see? The guard rolled his eyes in annoyance and sized up Xiao Chen's attire. Seeing that he didn't look like one of the miners nearby, he waved his hand and impatiently dismissed him. All right. Hurry up and go back to where you came from. Don't wander around here blindly. Otherwise, don't blame me for being rude. If that's the case, I'm going to the high-grade mine. You don't need to care so much. Just pretend that you haven't seen me. When the time comes, Jia Hongyong will explain it to you. Xiao Chen couldn't be bothered to talk to the guard. He shrugged his shoulders and walked towards the mine. Unexpectedly, he was stopped by the guard again. You have quite a lot of guts, huh? Didn't you hear what I said? You even dare to use Deputy Steward Jia to threaten me. Are you itching for a beating? See how I will deal with you. The tall and sturdy guard grabbed Xiao Chen's collar and clenched his fist, ready to punch him. Chapter 1062. Jia Xiaolu, hurry up and let go. Before the guard could swing his fist, he heard a roar coming from afar. Then he was kicked away. Jia Hongyong appeared in front of Xiao Chen angrily. He pointed at Jia Xiaolu, who had been kicked to the ground, and scolded. I think you're the one with the guts. Do you not want to work here anymore? How dare you offend my esteemed guest? If you don't want to work here, just tell me and I'll kick you out immediately. Deputy Steward Jia. I'm here to supervise today, right? Just now I saw him acting suspiciously, wandering around here, so I stopped him. I didn't know he was your guest. Otherwise, why would I be disrespectful to him? Jia Xiaolu retorted with an aggrieved expression as he rubbed his, but that had been kicked. Cut the crap, get lost. Jia Hongyong glared at Jia Xiaolu, then turned to Xiao Chen and said respectfully, Hero Xiao, I'm sorry, I didn't teach my men well. They're too insensible. Please don't lower yourself to their level. It's fine. Actually, I was in the wrong too. After all, this is the place you are in charge of. I should have told you before entering the mine. Xiao Chen waved his hand, not minding it too much. In fact, Jia Xiaolu could not be said to have done anything wrong. He was just doing his duty. Otherwise, if anyone could come and go as they pleased, the spiritual jades would have been stolen long ago. Hero Xiao, you're so forgiving. Jia Hongyong did not boast because of this. He still bowed humbly and said, You're going to the mine, right? Do as you please, do as you please. I'll go and explain to the guard now, lest there be any more misunderstandings and delay Hero Xiao's business. After that, Jia Hongyong dragged Jia Xiaolu, who had just gotten up, to a corner not far away. It seemed like he was going to lecture him. Xiao Chen couldn't stop him in time. He smiled helplessly and blamed himself in his heart. After all, he was the one who acted recklessly and caused the loyal Jia Xiaolu to be reprimanded. He was too embarrassed. It seemed that he would have to be more careful in the future. Thinking of his own thoughts, Xiaochen turned around and walked into the mine. On the other side of the forest, Xing's head popped out. She blinked her eyes and looked in his direction. Seeing that Xiaochen's figure had already disappeared into the mine, little Miss Xing thought for a moment. Taking advantage of the fact that there was no one guarding the entrance of the mine, she decisively chased after Xiaochen. She wanted to see what exactly Xiaochen was going to do. Jia Hongyong was scolding Jia Xiaolu, while Jia Xiaoyu's head was lowered. Neither of them noticed that a pretty figure flashed by and entered the mine. "Deputy Manager, I really didn't do it on purpose. I know you said that a guest was coming, so I stopped him. I was afraid that he would sneak into the mine and disturb your guest." Jia Xiaolu said with a bitter expression. "What guest are you talking about? How come I didn't know that a guest was coming? Did anyone enter the mine just now?" Jia Hongyong snorted and looked coldly at Jia Xiaolu as he asked expressionlessly. That man just now." Jia Xiaolu was startled. He wanted to argue, but he saw Jia Hongyong looking at him strangely. He immediately swallowed the second half of his sentence. "Which man?" Jia Hongyong asked again slowly. If this brat still didn't understand, then he had to take some measures. Jia Xiaolu didn't know what suddenly happened, but he suddenly realized something and said, Yes. No guests came, and no one entered the mine. I didn't sleep well last night, so my eyes were playing tricks on me." "And you're smart. Remember, don't say things you shouldn't say, and don't look at things you shouldn't look at, or else." Jia Hongyong didn't continue and gave him a you-know look. I know. That, Deputy Manager, if there's nothing else, I'll continue to guard the entrance of the mine. Don't worry, I won't say anything." Jia Xiaolu couldn't help but shiver. He immediately lowered his head and ran to the entrance of the high-grade mine. He stood there obediently and didn't move, just like when no one was around. Jia Hongyong saw this and nodded in satisfaction. He looked into the depths of the mine, but it was dark and he couldn't see anything. He didn't want to know why Xiao Chun ran into the mine, so he turned around and walked to his room, quickly disappearing. Xiao Chun didn't know the conversation between the two people outside. He followed the dim light of the mine and walked straight into the depths of the mine. The deeper he went, the narrower the tunnel became. There were also some places where water was seeping out. Xiao Chun guessed that this mine had been dug not long ago, so the walls had not been reinforced. From time to time, there would be dirt falling from above. Although the mine was very simple, Xiao Chun felt that the surrounding spiritual energy was getting thicker and thicker. It was obvious that there was a lot of high-grade spiritual jades stored in this mine. Moreover, he had specially used his divine sense to check. The load-bearing framework around the mine was very reasonable. Even if he dug for 3 to 5 years, it wouldn't collapse. The safety factor could be considered to be international standards. After walking for a while, Xiao Chun finally found a relatively clean and suitable place. He sat down and planned to cultivate here. Since it was already late at night, and with Jia Hongyong's greeting, there definitely wouldn't be any miners coming in to dig. Not far behind him was that little girl Xing, so Xiao Chun didn't have to worry about being seen by others. After sitting down cross-legged, Xiao Chun began to circulate his mental cultivation method. Gradually, the spiritual jades embedded in the nearby rocks seemed to resonate and emitted a strange light. The light was strong but not dazzling. It was obvious that the spiritual jades were of much higher quality than the normal spiritual jades that Jia Hongyong had given him. The energy of the spirit jade gradually turned into threads that were invisible to the naked eye, surrounding Xiao Chun. As the speed at which he circulated his mental cultivation method increased, those threads were like a silkworm cocoon, tightly wrapping around his body. Little girl Xing, who was hiding nearby, was scared silly. She had never seen such a scene in her life. Although she couldn't see any changes in Xiao Chun's body, she could see the continuous light emitting from the surrounding rocks. She could also feel the strong waves of energy continuously surging towards Xiao Chun's location. Xiao Chun didn't care about the situation around him at all. He continued to crazily absorb the threads of energy around him. The seemingly inexhaustible energy continuously flowed into his body. He could feel the injuries in his body gradually recovering, and there was a feeling that he was about to break through. After an unknown amount of time, the light emitted by the spiritual jades gradually weakened. It was obvious that the energy was about to be completely absorbed by Xiao Chun. Pung! Finally, a larger spiritual jade directly shattered due to the lack of spiritual energy. It became a useless piece of jade and fell from the cracks in the rocks. When it hit the ground, it turned into powder. Chapter 1063. Coincidentally, the place where the spirit jade had fallen was quite close to little Miss Xing. She was originally concentrating her attention on the spirit jade when she suddenly heard a crisp explosion. She almost jumped up in fright. Before she could react, the other spirit jades near Xiao Chun had all been sucked dry. Pung! Pung pung! The sound of the spirit jades exploding rose and fell one after another, and the fine sand began to rustle down. The originally spacious and ventilated cave was gradually filled with the smell of dust. Other than the spirit jades, large chunks of soil began to fall down. Normally, when the miners were working, they would stop digging after digging out a few spirit jades. This was to ensure the miners' safety and prevent the cave from collapsing. However, the rate at which the spirit jades were exploding was simply too fast. Furthermore, it was the middle of the night, and no one had come to reinforce the spirit jades. Thus, after a series of explosions, many areas of the cave had collapsed. The entire cave looked like it was on the verge of collapse. Xiao Chun, hurry and leave this place, the cave is about to collapse. Little Miss Xing saw that the situation was not good, and could no longer care about anything else. She revealed herself and shouted at Xiao Chun. However, Xiao Chun did not seem to hear little Miss Xing's words. He continued to sit there cross-legged without moving. He continued to absorb the energy from the spirit jades, without the slightest intention of stopping. Do you not want your life anymore? Even if you want to cultivate and level up, you have to first. Aya! Little Miss Xing was so anxious that she was sweating profusely. She stomped her feet and rushed toward Xiao Chun. She planned to drag him out of the cave first. However, contrary to little Miss Xing's expectations, before she could even get close to Xiao Chun, she was sent flying by a strong gust of qi. She landed heavily on the ground a distance away. Xiao Chun did not move at all. His eyes were tightly shut as he crazily absorbed the energy from the spirit jades. He was completely unaware of the situation around him. Boom! Without the support of the spiritual jades, the rocks in the mine finally collapsed under the pressure of the load-bearing frame. The area where Xiao Chun was located was the most severely damaged. Countless pieces of rubble fell down. Little girl Xing could only watch as a slightly larger piece of spiritual jade smashed onto Xiao Chun's head. Then, he fainted without a sound. If it was a normal rock, it would be useless to a cultivator like Xiao Chun. However, spirit jades were different. They were incomparably hard. Even with Yuan Qi protection, they could break through. Ouch! That hurts. Lady Xing had just gotten up when she was smashed by the rubble a few times. There were quite a few wounds on her body. However, because she was far away, her injuries were not as serious as Xiao Chun's. Xiao Chun? Xiao Chun, are you alright? Seeing Xiao Chun's face covered in blood and unconscious on the pile of rubble, little Miss Xing was at a loss. She tried calling out to Xiao Chun, but there was no response from Xiao Chun. She could only stand there in a daze. She didn't know if she should go up and check on Xiao Chun's injuries, or abandon him and run for her life. After hesitating and struggling for a while, young Lady Xing decided to stay. She felt that she couldn't let Xiao Chun die here alone. After all, elder son's orders were for her to keep an eye on Xiao Chun. She couldn't let him die. If he left Xiao Chun here and went back alone, he would definitely be scolded to death. Forget it, I'll just treat it as doing a good deed every day. I hope this stinking scoundrel will treat me better in the future. Little girl Xing encouraged herself, and finally decided to save Xiao Chun. However, when little Miss Xing walked in the direction of Xiao Chun, she realized that the passage between the two of them was already filled with rubble. She couldn't cross it at all. Furthermore, she didn't dare to use her demonic energy to blast the rubble away. If the vibrations caused the mine to collapse again, she would lose her life here. Gritting her teeth, Little Miss Xing endured the pain on her body and carefully walked over to the pile of rubble. She used her hands to move the rubble away. After spending a lot of effort, she finally cleared a path toward Xiao Chen. "Xiao Chen, how are you?" When she came to Xiao Chen's side, Little Miss Xing realized that his eyes were tightly shut, and he was lying motionless on the ground. She squatted down and gently pushed his body, but there was still no reaction. Little Miss Xing's mind was in a mess. She was worried and afraid. Her little face was pale and she said with a sobbing tone, "Xiao Chen, you don't scare me. You're already a martial honor expert. You can't be crushed to death by a few rocks, right? What should I do if you die? How am I going to explain this to elder son when I return?" Just as Little Miss Xing was panicking and at a loss of what to do, Xiao Chen's body suddenly twitched. Then there was no more movement. Little Miss Xing was shocked and hurriedly reached out to feel his breath. After holding her breath for a long time, she felt a weak heat. It was Xiao Chen's breath. "That's great." Little Miss Xing let out a long sigh and instantly felt more at ease. She muttered, "I just knew that a baddie like you wouldn't die so easily. Stop pretending and quickly stand up. Rocks are still falling down. We have to hurry up and get out. Otherwise, we'll be crushed to death in the mine." However, no matter how much Xing Chick yelled and pushed, Xiao Chen was still lying there without moving. If it wasn't for the fact that she could feel his breathing and the weak rise and fall of his chest, Xing Chick would have thought that Xiao Chen was really dead. Without any other choice, Little Miss Xing could only strenuously help Xiao Chen up and drag him out of the mine. This was because the ceiling that Xiao Chen was on was already shaking, and it was not safe at all. If they didn't leave quickly, the two of them might be buried alive. "Why are you so heavy? You look so skinny, but you're as heavy as a dead pig." Although Little Miss Xing was complaining, she didn't stop walking. Because Little Miss Xing was also injured by the rocks, she couldn't use too much strength. Thus, she could only drag Xiao Chen and slowly walk forward. After walking for an unknown amount of time, Little Miss Xing felt that her footsteps were getting heavier, and her eyelids were getting heavier. Although they were already out of the danger zone, they were still quite a distance away from the mine exit. In order to raise her spirits, Little Miss Xing could only mutter to herself, "Xiao Chen, why are you so mysterious? Why did you come to such a dangerous place to cultivate? Furthermore, I've never heard of spiritual jades being able to help cultivators increase their cultivation. How did you do it? Just now your surroundings were so strong, and you bounced me so far away. I thought you could also bounce rocks away. I didn't think that you would faint in just one hit. Xiao Chen, I'm so tired. Why is this road so long? I can't see the end. Are we going to be stuck here forever? Are we going to die in the mine just like that? Xiao Chen, the road in front is so blurry. Why can't I see clearly? The surrounding lights aren't on either. Did I go the wrong way? When can we go out?" Chapter 1064. Xiao Chen, I don't have any strength. I really want to lie on the bed, have a comfortable sleep. As Xing Biao spoke, her vision suddenly turned black and she fainted. However, even though she fainted, her hands were still tightly grabbing onto Xiao Chen's body. It could be seen how persistent she was. Actually, Xiao Chen was already conscious at this time. When Xing Biao pushed him, he had already woken up. That jerk was his reaction. However, no matter how he tried, he could not control his body. It was as if his entire body did not belong to him. Helpless, Xiao Chen's primordial spirit could only stay in his sea of consciousness and quietly watch everything that Xing Biao did for him. To be honest, Xiao Chen was a little touched. He thought to himself that this young master transvestite was quite kind. It was fortunate that he did not kill her previously. Otherwise, he would really regret it to death. Although she was working for the Awakening Heaven sect, her heart was not considered bad. She was a kind girl. On the other hand, Xiao Chen was also very depressed. When the mine cave collapsed, it was not that he did not escape on purpose. It was just that he was stuck at the point of breaking through. Even he could not control the speed of his yuan qi absorption. He could only wait until he successfully advanced to the nascent soul stage before he could leave. However, he did not expect that the top of the cave above him would collapse so quickly. The rubble smashed into his body and directly knocked him out. Now, Not only was Xiao Chen's body seriously injured, even his previous cultivation was in vain. His injuries were even more serious than before. He tried to call out to the elder heaven ancestor a few times, but realized that there was no response. Xiao Chen could not help but secretly complain. Although the nearby load-bearing structures were not damaged, and it was relatively safe, he and Xing Biao were both injured and bleeding nonstop. If no one came to save them in time, forget about healing their injuries. Just the blood loss alone could kill them. Bang bang bang. Vice manager, something bad has happened. While Xiao Chen was frowning, Jia Xiaolu was vigorously pounding on Jia Hongyong's door. As he pounded, he shouted, "Don't sleep, hurry up and come out to take a look. Our new mining area collapsed." Jia Hongyong opened the door with sleepy eyes. He had gone to bed late last night, and was sleeping soundly at this time. He was woken up by Jia Xiaolu. He had nowhere to vent his anger, so he knocked his head and said impatiently, "What are you yelling for? Why aren't you standing guard in the middle of the night? Why are you yelling at me? Are you itching for a beating?" "No. It was the new mining area that had collapsed. The distinguished guest you invited. No, in short, you should go and take a look. It'll be too late if we're late." Although Jia Xiaolu was burning with anxiety, he didn't forget to gloss over the matter of the distinguished guest. "What? Collapsed?" Jia Hongyong jumped in fright and sobered up. He grabbed a coat and a flashlight and quickly ran toward the mine. Jia Xiaolu hurriedly followed behind him. As Jia Hongyong ran, he turned around and asked Jia Xiaolu, "Why did the mine suddenly collapse? I remember that it was reinforced 2 days ago." At this time, he kept praying in his heart, hoping that nothing bad would happen to Hero Xiao. Otherwise, his job as a deputy manager would be over. "I'm not too sure about that. I was standing guard when I suddenly heard a dull sound coming from the mine. Then there was a lot of dust coming out. I waited at the door for more than 10 minutes. When I realized that no one had come out, I quickly came to look for you," Jia Xiaolu explained while panting. "What the f***ck? You waited at the door for more than 10 minutes, and now you're here to report to me? What the f***ck were you doing earlier?" Jia Hongyong was so angry that he almost kicked Jia Xiaolu away. He had stayed in Tianyu Mine for many years. He knew that 1 to 2 hours after a mine disaster happened was the golden time to organize a rescue. If they missed this time, the people left in the mine would be in great danger. Not only would their injuries not be treated, but the air would also become thinner. I thought he was lucky and would escape by himself. That's why I didn't think of reporting it immediately." Jia Xiaolu scratched his head and said guiltily. Jia Hongyong glared at Jia Xiaolu. Seeing that they were already at the entrance of the mine, he could not be bothered to scold him anymore. He turned on his flashlight and rushed into the mine. However, before he could go far, he was choked by the dust and coughed nonstop. Cough cough. Why is it so serious? Could it be that Hero Xiao blew up the mine? Jia Hongyong whispered to himself as he dispersed the dust in front of him. At this time, not only was the visibility of the road in front of them very low, but it was also covered with dust everywhere. Even if they turned on the flashlight, it wouldn't illuminate far. Fortunately, there was only one passage in the entire mine. Otherwise, they would get lost just by walking in. "Deputy manager, why don't you wait here for a while? I'll go out and get 2 gas masks." Cough cough. Jia Xiaolu also frowned and suggested. Jia Xiaolu was not afraid of inhaling too much dust. It was just that he could not see the road, clearly due to the situation in front of him. He had only taken a few steps, but he almost tripped over the gravel several times. "There's no need, I already saw him." Jia Hongyong waved his hand and raised his flashlight. He shone the light not far away, and saw a figure crawling on the ground. Although it was covered in dust and tattered, he could still vaguely see that it was Xiao Chen's clothes. Jia Hongyong walked towards the crawling Xiao Chen. As he walked, he felt that something was wrong. He took a closer look and realized that other than Xiao Chen, there was another person lying beside him. Why is there another person? Who is this man? Jia Hongyong walked quickly to the side of Xiao Chen and Miss Xing, and blurted out in surprise. I don't know either. Other than your esteemed guest, I didn't see anyone else come in. What's going on? Could it be that he was hiding inside? Jia Xiaolu was also stunned. He carefully looked at Miss Xing's appearance and realized that he had never seen her before. He could not help but feel puzzled. Before you were on guard duty, I came in to patrol. There was definitely no one hiding here. He must have come in from behind. Jia Hongyong glared at Jia Xiaolu. What a waste. You didn't even notice a living person sneaking in. Jia Hongyong squatted down and reached out to check for Xiao Chen and Miss Xing's breathing. He realized that the two were still alive, but their breathing was rather weak. He thought for a moment and said, "Forget it, help me carry them out first. I'll find someone to deal with the collapse later." Jia Xiaolu agreed and carefully carried Xiao Chen and Miss Xing out with Jia Hongyong. They were sent back to the room that was prepared for Xiao Chen. Chapter 1065. Because Xing Chik kept clinging to Xiao Chen, and Jia Hongyong couldn't figure out her identity, he decided to put her and Xiao Chen on the same bed. After settling down Xiao Chen and Xing Chik, Jia Hongyong carefully reminded Jia Xiaolu not to go around gossiping. Then he returned to his room, picked up his phone, and dialed Jia Muzin's number. "Hello Hongyong, it's so late. Is there something urgent you need me for?" It was early in the morning, and Jia Muzin was in a daze. However, when he saw Jia Hongyong's call, he still picked up his phone and answered the call. "This young Master Mu's son, something happened here." Jia Hongyong paused. He didn't know how to bring up Xiao Chen's matter. After all, yesterday evening, Jia Muzin had repeatedly reminded him to take good care of Xiao Chen, and he had readily agreed. He didn't expect that in just one night, Xiao Chen would suffer such serious injuries and be unconscious. What happened? What happened? Did something happen to Xiao Chen? Don't dilly-dally, and tell me quickly. Although Jia Hongyong was stuttering, Jia Muzin still quivered and sat up from the bed as he eagerly asked. "Young Master Mu's son, don't worry. It's like this. After I picked up Hero Xiao last night, I arranged a room for him. Then, he went to a newly opened mine alone. I wasn't sure what he was going to do, so I didn't stop him. However, not long after, the mine collapsed." Jia Hongyong summoned up his courage and explained in detail what had happened. "What? Collapsed? Is his injury serious?" Jia Muzin was now completely awake, so he hurriedly asked. "Hero Zhao's life shouldn't be in danger, but there are many wounds on his body from the rubble. Currently, he is still unconscious." Jia Hongyong answered honestly. "No, I'd better go to the mine myself and bring him some healing pills." Jia Muzin pondered for a while. He was really worried about Xiao Chen, so he immediately got up from the bed and put on his clothes, shoes, and socks with his phone between his ears. He was ready to rush to the Heavenly Jade Mine. "Young Master Mu's son, don't worry. I've already given Hero Xiao a medicinal pill. It should be fine." Jia Hongyong hesitated and said, "I think it's better if you don't come over right now." "Why? If I don't visit Xiao Chen, I won't feel at ease." Jia Muzin frowned. Could it be that Jia Hongyong was trying to avoid responsibility by not letting him visit? "Young Master Mu's son, maybe you don't know. I have to report the collapse of the mine to the Patriarch first. According to the rules, the family must send someone to investigate the cause of the accident. If you rush over at this time, I'm afraid it will be too conspicuous." Jia Hongyong replied in a cautious tone. Jia Muzin was startled. He didn't expect Jia Hongyong to say such a thing. After thinking for a while, he felt that what Jia Hongyong said did make some sense. Firstly, it was difficult to explain why Xiao Chen wanted to go to the mine. Secondly, he had just become the Patriarch's successor, so he would definitely be extremely busy. It would be difficult for him to get away. If he rushed over to the mine, it would be difficult to explain if his grandfather asked. After pondering for a long time, Jia Muzin nodded and said, "All right. Then I won't go for the time being, but you must take good care of Xiao Chen. No matter what happens, you must report to me immediately. If Xiao Chen wakes up, you must also tell me in time." "No problem. You can rest assured and leave it to me." Jia Hongyong agreed and said, "There's one more thing." "What is it this time?" Jia Muzin's heart had just calmed down a little, but it was immediately tensed up again. This Jia Hongyong was really something. Couldn't he say everything in one go? Did he have to cut it in half and ride on a roller coaster to play with people? Just now in the mine, other than Hero Xiao, I also saw another pretty boy. This person was also heavily injured and fainted on the ground. Jia Hongyong thought for a while and added, but when I found him, he was still firmly holding on to Hero Zhao's arm, as if he wanted to drag him out. He probably wanted to save Hero Zhao. Do you know this person? Jia Hongyong roughly described Xing's appearance, wanting to know if Jia Muzhen had any impression of this person. It's her. She was also injured. Jia Muzhen was a little surprised. From Jia Hongyong's description, this person was clearly Xing. Could it be that Xing Chick was saving Xiao Chen? Perhaps there was such a possibility. Jia Muzhen remembered that Xiao Chen once mentioned that Xing Chick helped him block a fatal blow from Ma Baixia. Jia Muzhen thought for a while. Although he couldn't figure out which side Xing Chick was on, it seemed that she wouldn't harm Xiao Chen. So he instructed. She is also considered a friend of Xiao Chen. There shouldn't be a problem. Since she was injured, take care of her. And okay, I understand. Jia Hongyong nodded and said, then I'll go see them first. Sorry to disturb your rest. If there's a situation, I'll call you again. Okay, I'll wait for your news. Jia Muzhen hung up the phone and looked out the window. He realized that the sky was about to brighten. He was too lazy to take off his clothes again, so he directly laid on the bed with his clothes on. However, he kept thinking about Xiao Chen's safety in his heart. He couldn't fall asleep no matter how he tossed and turned. Heavenly Jade Mine, in Xiao Chen's temporary room. Xiao Chen didn't know how long he stayed in the sea of consciousness. After being moved to the room, he was so tired that he fell asleep. After a busy night, he urgently needed time to recuperate. In a daze, he vaguely felt a flash of white light in front of him. His body felt warm and comfortable. Slowly opening his eyes, Xiao Chen first looked around and realized that he was lying on the bed. Sunlight shone into the room from the window and covered the entire bed. The white light he felt just now was the rising sun shining on his face. And there was a person standing beside his bed. It was Jia Hongyong, who was wild with joy. Hero Zhao, you're finally awake. Jia Hongyong immediately stretched out his hand and took Xiao Chen's pulse. After feeling for a while, he estimated that there shouldn't be any major problems. He then let out a long sigh and said excitedly, you fainted for a day and a night. You almost scared me to death. Now, since you're safe and sound, I can finally report to young Master Mu's son. He's called me a few times already. Ugh, what happened? Why did I faint for so long? Xiao Chen rubbed his head. He still felt a little confused. Looking down, he found that his body was covered with small wounds and bruises. Chapter 1066. He tried to recall, but he couldn't remember why he fainted, or how he ended up lying on the bed. His memory of that night seemed to be blank. I don't know what happened to the mine you went to, but a lot of the spirit jades inside were shattered into powder, so it collapsed and knocked you out. Jia Hongyong carefully explained. Oh, I seem to remember something, but the memory is a bit blurry. Xiao Chen touched his head and discovered that it was wrapped in several layers of gauze. He had probably suffered a concussion, which affected his short-term memory. Hero Zhao, are you all right? Do you want me to arrange for a professional medical staff to come and check on your condition? Jia Hongyong asked worriedly as he looked at Xiao Chen's slightly dazed expression. I'm fine, I just slept for too long, so I can't wake up for a while. Xiao Chen shook his head. He suddenly thought of something and asked, how is the collapsed mine? Can it be handled? Oh, the old patriarch has already sent technicians over to investigate the cause. But don't worry, they haven't found anything yet. Jia Hongyong replied with a smile. In fact, Jia Hongyong was very clear that this matter was definitely related to Xiao Chen. But he was a smart person, so he naturally knew who he should cover for at this time. So, he casually played dumb and fooled the technicians. He reckoned that those people were still thinking hard about why the spirit jades had shattered. Thank you. My memory is still a bit blurry, so I can't provide any more help. Xiao Chen looked at Jia Hongyong with appreciation. He thought to himself that this kid was worth teaching. This guy really knew how to adapt to the situation. He was a talent. It's fine. You should rest for a while more. Jia Hongyong quickly waved his hand, then smiled and said, I'll go report to young Master Mu's son that I'm safe. He has been worried for a day and a night. There's water and food on the table in the room. If you have any other needs, feel free to let me know. After saying that, Jia Hongyong took out his phone and nodded to apologize to Xiaochen. Then, he went out to call Jia Muzin. Before leaving, he didn't forget to quietly close the door. Xiaochen took a deep breath and closed his eyes. He first tried to circulate his mental cultivation method, but he suddenly made a shocking discovery. Under the circulation of the mental cultivation method, Xiaochen discovered that the injuries on his body were rapidly healing. Furthermore, the originally blurry part of his brain was gradually becoming clearer, and fragments of memories were constantly emerging. From the moment he was stopped from entering the mining area to the moment he went into the mining cave to cultivate, he sucked up all the spirit jades and turned them into powder, causing the mining cave to collapse. After that, Xing Xiaolu, who was also injured, wanted to save him and dragged him out. In the end, she exhausted all her strength and fainted on the ground. In the end, the two of them were saved by Jia Hongyong and Jia Xiaolu. Apart from the endless stream of memories, there was another crucial point. At this moment, Xiaochen felt as if his body was about to explode. An unprecedentedly powerful yuan qi surged out from his dantian and frantically expanded the meridians in his body. It was not under Xiaochen's control at all. Xiaochen held his breath and quietly observed the changes. After the majestic yuan qi circulated a few hundred times, it once again returned to his dantian and gradually formed a cyclone. As the yuan qi gathered, it became bigger and bigger. It constantly attacked the surroundings of his dantian, as if it wanted to tear Xiaochen's body apart. Xiaochen knew that this was the most important moment. He gritted his teeth and did not move, enduring the tearing pain in his body. Boom! After an unknown period of time, Xiaochen suddenly heard a loud sound beside his ear, as if there was an explosion. Then his body became light as a feather. His divine sense continuously expanded outwards, covering an extremely far distance, until it reached a radius of tens of kilometers. He saw some people holding pickaxes and mining diligently in the mine. Some people were hiding in the shade of trees, wiping their sweat and drinking water to rest. There were also people in the wilderness, fighting against unknown monsters. Only when it reached the furthest distance did Xiaochen's divine sense slowly retract and gradually fade away. At this time, Xiaochen also realized that he had successfully broken through to the first level of the original infant stage. What made Xiaochen the happiest was that, in addition to the elder heaven ancestor waking up from his dormant period, a little demon and the flame of the underworld had also woken up. Elder heaven ancestor, what's going on? Previously, I absorbed so many spiritual jades, but I didn't break through and even caused a collapse. Why did I break through now that I'm covered in wounds? Xiaochen retracted his divine sense and asked in his mind in puzzlement. Isn't that simple? At that time, you just absorbed all the spiritual energy into your body and stored it. Before you had time to refine it, the mind collapsed. The voice of the elder heaven ancestor came slowly. Now that you've woken up and used the mental cultivation method to refine the spiritual energy into primordial qi, nourishing your meridians and healing your injuries, the converted primordial qi is so huge, of course you'll break through. So that's how it is. Xiaochen nodded and asked in confusion. But I remember that when the mind collapsed, I was in the form of a primordial spirit. I have memories of what happened in the mine. Why did these memories disappear when I woke up just now? Did I remember it when I used the mental cultivation method? Are you stupid? The primordial spirit is equivalent to your subconscious, and the memories stored in your brain belong to your conscious. At that time, you were hit in the head by the spiritual stone, and your brain was seriously injured, so your memory was naturally damaged. When you use primordial qi to heal the damage to your brain, won't your memory automatically come back? The elder heaven ancestor explained. Oh, I was wondering what was going on. Xiaochen came to a sudden realization and awkwardly rubbed his nose. He stretched his body and prepared to get out of bed to wash up. But just as he got up, he realized that his clothes were tightly grabbed by someone. Turning around, he saw that it was the bruised and swollen Xing lass with her eyes closed. Kid, your luck is really not bad. This time, You were knocked unconscious by the spiritual jade. If she hadn't saved you in time, I reckon that your little life would have been lost in the mine." The elder heaven ancestor clicked his tongue as if he was very envious. That's right this time. It's lucky that Xinglas was there. Otherwise the result would be hard to say. "Alright, how are her injuries?" Xiaochen carefully examined her and realized that her injuries were quite serious. It was probably because she was trying to drag him out that she didn't have time to heal her injuries. Xiaochen immediately grabbed her other empty hand and transferred his primordial qi to her to heal her injuries. Looking at Xinglas clutching his clothes tightly and her weak and haggard appearance, Xiaochen couldn't help but feel a deep sense of guilt in his heart. Xinglas was different from him. After all, she wasn't a cultivator. In a state of hypoxia for a long time, even if she was at the peak of the 10th level of the Demon King, she wouldn't be able to hold on. Her life would definitely be in danger. Chapter 1067. Oxygen was the source of life. The most heaven-defying aspect of a cultivator was that they could convert the energy of the spirit jade into yuan qi. Then, the yuan qi could be converted into various substances that the body needed. There was no need for a constant supply of oxygen. However, cultivators did not have this ability. Looking at the pitiful state that Xing was in, Xiaochen would be lying if he said he was not touched. Regardless of who this girl worked for, or why she was spying on him, she was still very loyal to her friends at crucial times. As Xiaochen continued to transfer yuan qi into Xingling's body, her injuries began to heal at a speed visible to the naked eye. In just a few seconds, she was completely healed. Xiaochen was also very surprised. He muttered to himself, "Is this the strength of an original infant stage cultivator? Isn't this too awesome?" The elder heaven ancestor inspected Xiaochen's strength and said sourly, "You've indeed reached the original infant stage. TSK, your cultivation is almost catching up to mine. Looks like that spirit jade mine is a good place. I should go there a few more times in the future." "Still going? I've already become like this the first time. I don't know if there will be anyone to save me the next time." Xiaochen smiled bitterly and shook his head. He felt the yuan qi circulating rapidly in his body and sighed. "Elder heaven ancestor, the feeling of breaking through to the original infant stage is simply too awesome. I feel like I can completely defeat all the weaklings that I competed with before." Of course, this is the difference between cultivators. The elder heaven ancestor replied matter-of-factly. The strength of an original infant stage cultivator and a golden core stage cultivator are naturally incomparable. Otherwise, why would your breakthrough be so difficult? The greater the price, the greater the reward. The higher the cultivation, the greater the difference in strength between a cultivator and a normal cultivator. That's right. Xiaochen stared at Xing, whose face was gradually turning red. He thought to himself, it's just like what the elder heaven ancestor said. Not to mention a level 2 venerable. I can even face a level 10 venerable with ease. Although Xing Chick's injuries were almost completely healed, she still hadn't woken up. She didn't know that Xiaochen was helping her heal. She had a dream in a daze. She dreamed that she was seriously injured for some reason. She was lying on the bed, unable to move, and Xiaochen was carefully taking care of her. In the dream, this hateful fellow was so gentle for the first time, patiently treating her wounds, undressing her, and even wiping her body. How embarrassing. Why did he have such a strange dream? Did that scoundrel Xiaochen do something wrong? Have you let me down? Otherwise, why would he suddenly become so gentle? Unexpectedly, Xing Chick didn't explode in anger when she saw this scene in her dream. Instead, she felt shy and warm, as well as a sense of novelty. Xing Chick thought back to her experiences when she was young. There were many times when she was seriously injured, but she forced herself to endure it. No one had ever cared about her life. Although Awakening Heaven sect gave her everything, such as abundant cultivation resources and secret manuals, it also taught her what it meant to be cold. It taught her how to use different masks to hide her true emotions when dealing with different people. After the sect nurtured her, they only cared if she could complete her mission and follow the instructions of the higher-ups. As for everything else, they ignored it. So when Xing Chick dreamt of Xiao Chun taking care of her, she didn't have her usual vigilance. She only felt a strong sense of warmth and closeness. However, this dream was quite realistic. Xiao Chun held his own hand, and it was as if he could feel the real warmth. Xing Chick's eyelids moved a few times before she slowly opened her eyes. The scene in front of her went from blurry to clear. Xing Chick suddenly saw that Xiao Chun was sitting at the side with a gentle expression, holding her hand tightly. She blinked her eyes and woke up a little. Only then did she realize that this was not a dream. It was real. She instantly jumped in fright. She widened her eyes and shouted, You, what are you doing? Are you crazy? You're the one who's crazy. I'm treating you. Don't move. I didn't expect you to have a stuttering problem. Xiao Chun felt Chick Xing shrink back and wanted to pull her hand back. He immediately used all his strength and grabbed her hand tightly, not letting go. "Ayo, you big scoundrel. You're hurting me." Little Miss Xing pouted in pain as she frowned and complained. "Isn't it because you're moving around? Otherwise, why would I use force? Be more obedient, and it won't hurt in a while." As Xiao Chun spoke, he suddenly froze. He felt that the content of their conversation was not suitable for children. On the other hand, Miss Xing was completely oblivious to this ambiguous conversation. She tried a few more times, but she realized that she could not retract her arm no matter what, so she could only give up. She felt that Xiao Chun really seemed to be helping her heal, so she could only remain silent. "That's more like it. Wait a little longer, I'll be done soon." Xiao Chun nodded his head in satisfaction and continued to treat Xing Chick. Bored to death, Xing Chick looked around the room. However, when her gaze landed on her legs, she was shocked and exclaimed, "Ah! Why are my pants split open? Did you do this, you scoundrel? You big scoundrel." "Deep well ice, I'm not interested in ladyboys," Xiao Chun said impatiently. However, he still couldn't help but glance at Xing Chick's legs. "You're still saying you're not interested? Where are your eyes looking? Do you think I won't dig your eyeballs out?" Xing Chick immediately caught onto Xiao Chun's gaze and shouted angrily. Xiao Chun didn't care about Xing Chick's threat at all. Instead, he joked, "Speaking of which, your ladyboy's legs are quite white. Don't you do a lot of zhengduoyan? Looks like you do a lot of squats as well. Your butt is quite perky. TSK. Looks like you really know how to take care of yourself. I told you not to look and you're still looking. I'm not a ladyboy." Little girl Xing glared at him in exasperation. She used her other free hand to pull the blanket over her legs and said angrily, "You stinking bastard. You already know I'm a girl, yet you keep calling me ladyboy. So annoying. Tell me, how do I look like a ladyboy?" "Well, I think people like you, who like to dress up as a man all the time, are all ladyboys." Xiao Chun saw that Xing Chick was unconvinced and added, "Otherwise, look at Cheng Minjing and Ling Qianxue. Which girl always dresses up as a man and runs around? Why do they have to be called young master? If they aren't ladyboys, then what are they? TSK, I'm different from them. Don't compare me to others." Xing Chick pouted and tilted her head. She was too lazy to talk to Xiao Chun anymore. Chapter 1068. That's why you're a transvestite. Xiao Chun smiled as he shook his head and continued to treat Miss Xing's injuries. Not long after, Miss Xing felt Xiao Chun let go of her hand. She turned her head in surprise and asked, "Didn't you say you were going to treat me? Why did you run away after such a short time? Are you unable to do it? You can eat whatever you want, but you can't say whatever you want. Whether I can or not, how would you know if you don't try?" Xiao Chun casually retorted. Then, he picked up the food and water on the table and sat on the bed to eat. "Try what? Why do you want me to try if you can or not?" Miss Xing's face was full of confusion. She had no idea what Xiao Chun was talking about. "I mean, what other wounds do you have on your body?" Xiao Chun drank some water and thought for a while before saying, "Oh, I understand. Did you get 2 mosquito bites on your upper body when you were young? And your lower body was slashed by a mantis? I really can't treat these wounds. Otherwise, you'll really become a transvestite." "Ah, what do you mean? Why do you keep saying things that I don't understand?" Chick Xing was stunned again. She subconsciously lowered her head and took a look. After pondering for a while, she suddenly came to a realization. She pointed at Xiao Chun with a red face and scolded. You really are a baddie. You're actually so despicable. If I had known earlier, I wouldn't have saved you. It would have been much easier to let you die in the mine. Pervert. 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 Anyway, I'm already out. You can't turn back time. Xiao Chun casually replied. Then he picked up a chicken leg and wolfed it down. He hadn't eaten for 2 days and 1 night. In addition, he had used up some energy just now. He just wanted to eat something to replenish his energy. Then, he grabbed another bun and stuffed it into his mouth. As Xiao Chun chewed, he mumbled, "Transvestite, are you hungry? Are you thirsty? Do you want to eat and drink something?" "Not hungry. Not thirsty. Just eat. I'll give it all to you. You'll choke to death sooner or later." Miss Xing was furious. This guy was doing this on purpose. Aren't you asking this question for nothing? Everyone has been unconscious for such a long time. Are you the only one who's hungry? Good intentions were not rewarded well. Oh, okay, then I'll eat them all. This bun is really fragrant. The roast chicken is also not bad. Give me a like. Xiao Chun immediately agreed. He let go of his stomach and ate with big mouthfuls. He even purposely made baji sounds. From time to time, he would look at Miss Xing and praise her delicious food. He had a look of enjoyment on his face. Lady Xing was about to explode from anger. However, when she heard Xiao Chen's alluring voice, her stomach failed to live up to her expectations and started to rumble. However, she had already said that she wouldn't do anything, so she was too embarrassed to take more food. She could only sit on the bed silently and endure it. She wished that she could plug her ears with earplugs and curse Xiao Chen several times in her heart. It's so delicious. To think that a small place like Jiahongyong could actually make such delicious food. Not bad, not bad. Looks like I'll have to come here a few more times in the future. Xiao Chen let out a long burp. He even turned his head and licked his fingers at Lady Xing with a dirty expression on his face. Dong dong dong. Just as Lady Xing was about to explode, a series of knocks suddenly came from the door. Xiao Chen put down the plate and kettle and ran over to open the door. He discovered Jia Hongyong standing there with 2 sets of clothes and 2 pairs of new shoes. "Hero Xiao, you're already fine?" Jia Hongyong looked at the radiant Xiao Chun and was very surprised. Before he went out, Xiao Chun was still covered in injuries and looked miserable. It hadn't been long, but he had already recovered. "And I'm fine. Thank you for your care. When I go back, I'll definitely put in a good word for you to Jia Muzin," Xiao Chun replied with a smile. "You're too polite." Jia Hongyong hurriedly thanked him and then handed over the clothes. He said with a smile, "These are the clothes and shoes I prepared for you and that little brother. Try them on first. If they don't fit, let me know and I'll go change into 2 more sets." Thank you. Fortunately, you're here. Otherwise, I really wouldn't know how to face people when I go back in these tattered clothes." Xiao Chun nodded and took the clothes. He didn't expect Jia Hongyong's thoughts to be so meticulous. Not only did he prepare clothes for him, but he also prepared a set for Lady Xing. "You're too polite. It's just a slight effort." Jia Hongyong waved his hand again and again, not daring to claim credit for himself. He said, "Oh right, I just made a phone call. Young Master Mu's son already knows about your situation. He told me to take good care of you, so you can rest assured and stay here. No one will come to disturb you. If you have any instructions, just let me know." Cough, cough, cough. Just as Xiao Chun was about to speak, he suddenly heard Lady Xing coughing nonstop. He couldn't figure out what was going on. He said to Jia Hongyong, "All right, I won't say any polite words. You can go do what you need. If I need anything else, I'll find you again." All right. Please help yourself." Jia Hongyong was very quick-witted. He immediately nodded and turned to leave. Cough, cough, cough. After sending Jia Hongyong off, Xiao Chun heard that Lady Xing was still coughing. He looked back in surprise and almost burst out laughing. It turned out that this girl had hidden on the bed to eat the remaining buns while he was chatting. In the end, she choked. Cough, cough. "Water. Quick, give me water." Lady Xing's face turned red. She almost choked on the bun and couldn't breathe. She reached out to grab the nearby water bottle but couldn't reach it. "I'm impressed. You're really good. You can even choke on a bun." Xiao Chen shook his head helplessly and walked over to pour a cup of water for Lady Xing. Lady Xing hurriedly took it and gulped it down. Finally, the food that was stuck in her throat was delivered to her stomach. Humph. At least you still have some conscience. You know to leave me something to eat. Lady Xing put down the cup of water and let out a long sigh. She couldn't be bothered with Xiao Chen's mockery anymore. She picked up another bun and stuffed it into her mouth. However, this time, she didn't dare to eat too much. Instead, she chewed slowly before swallowing the bun. Oh, actually, I was planning to eat it later. Since you're so hungry, I'll let you eat it all. Xiao Chen saw that Lady Xing was eating so happily. He couldn't bear to tease her anymore. Out of the clothes that Jia Hongyong had brought over, he picked up a smaller set of clothes and threw it on the bed. Then he picked up another set of clothes and walked out. Hey, where are you going? Lady Xing was startled and hurriedly shouted. I'm going to change. Everyone wants to see a running man. Do you want to see a naked man? I have to charge you, Xiao Chen said in a bad mood. I'm not looking. Hurry up and leave. I don't want to have a needle eye. Lady Xing hurriedly turned her head and faced the wall to chase Xiao Chen away. Chapter 1069. Xiao Chen stopped at the door and said, Change your clothes after you finish eating. I might stay here for a few more days. Whether you want to stay or leave, it's up to you. After he finished speaking, he left the room without looking back. Little girl Xing turned around and looked at Xiao Chen's departing figure. Her heart was very conflicted. She wanted to complete the task that elder son had given her, but she didn't want to stay with Xiao Chen. After experiencing the dangerous mining accident, she felt that she had developed a strange feeling for Xiao Chen, but she couldn't explain it. This feeling made her uncontrollably flustered. She wanted to see Xiao Chen, but she also wanted to stay far away from him. It was a very contradictory feeling. However, Xiao Chen didn't think as much as little girl Xing. He had his own reasons for staying. One reason was to consolidate his cultivation, and the other reason was to see if there was an opportunity for him to break through again. After all, this kind of opportunity was very rare. He also wanted to see if he could increase his cultivation a bit, so that he wouldn't have to rely on the Elder Heaven Ancestor to help him in the future. Ever since Jia Muzin found out about the mine, he was muddle-headed the entire day. From time to time, he would call Jia Hongyong, but all he received was the news that Xiao Chen was still unconscious. He didn't dare tell Cheng Minjing and the others, so he didn't sleep well at night. It wasn't until early the next morning that he received a call from Jia Hongyong and found out that Xiao Chen had woken up, that the stone in his heart was finally put down. With great difficulty, he lay on his bed and took a nap for a while. Then, a servant knocked on the door and said that the family head Jia Jinyan wanted him to immediately go to the study. There was an important matter that needed to be discussed. Jia Muzin listened to the message in a half-awake and half-dazed state. His eyes suddenly widened. Could it be that the matter of Xiao Chen going to the Heavenly Jade Mine had been discovered? Greatly alarmed, his sleepiness immediately flew to the horizon. He immediately got up and washed up. He didn't care about eating breakfast and quickly ran to Jia Jinyan's study. Mu-san, what happened? Did you not sleep well last night? Why are the dark circles under your eyes so serious? Jia Jinyan frowned and asked indifferently when he saw Jia Muzin running in with a flustered expression and two panda eyes. Everyone was too enthusiastic at the banquet the day before yesterday, so I accidentally drank too much. Plus, I just won the competition, so I'm quite excited, so I haven't been sleeping well for the past 2 days. Jia Muzin sneaked a glance at Jia Jinyan and discovered that he didn't seem to be angry. Instead, he seemed to be in a good mood. It seemed that Xiao Chen hadn't been exposed and had just casually made up an excuse. Oh, I see. Jia Jinyan smiled faintly, not feeling offended. It's nothing. You've worked so hard for such a long time. And you even had such an outstanding performance in the clan's tournament. It's normal for you to take a break. Jia Muzin secretly heaved a sigh of relief and didn't dare to be negligent. He quickly bowed respectfully and asked, I wonder what Grandpa wants me to do by calling me over so early in the morning? Jia Jinyan waved his hand at Jia Muzin and said with a smile, Come. Sit here and let's have a good talk. Since you've already become the successor of the clan head, I wonder if you have any unique views on the future development of the Jia clan? I don't have any experience in this area before. Jia Muzin sat down. Only now did he realize that his grandfather was looking for him to discuss the Jia clan's problems. He modestly waved his hand and said, "Please give me some pointers, Grandpa. Perhaps I can follow by your side and learn for a period of time. Otherwise, I'll be in the dark and won't be able to say anything." Jia Jinyan also knew that he was being a bit difficult. Jia Muzin's parents had passed away when he was young, so he definitely wasn't as familiar with the affairs of the Jia clan as Jia Huyan and the others. Thus he gently explained, Our Jia clan is one of the 3 major clans of the inner martial arts circle. We mainly produce spiritual jades and provide them to the other sects and clans of the inner martial arts circle in exchange for corresponding resources as a means of survival." Having said that, Jia Jinyan got up and opened the cabinet behind him. He took out a thick stack of information and placed it in front of Jia Muzin. Jia Muzin lowered his head and gave it a cursory glance. The content of the information was related to spiritual jades. There were also some transaction contracts, but they seemed to be from a few years ago. Jia Jinyan pointed at the cover of the stack of information and said indifferently, "This information is the report of the amount of spiritual jades produced by the Jia clan over the years, as well as the transaction contracts with various major sects and clans. There are also some risk assessments. You can take it back and look at it first, then make your own conclusions." "Okay, Grandpa. After I finish looking at this information, I will submit a complete report to you." Looking at the mountain of information, Jia Muzin felt somewhat fortunate. Fortunately, he had stayed in Lan City University for a period of time and learned some theoretical knowledge. Otherwise, he would really be at a loss when looking at so much content. "No hurry, take it back and slowly look at it. If you have any questions, you can ask me. First, understand this information thoroughly." Jia Jinyan nodded and said with a smile, "Dong dong dong." Jia Muzin was just about to say something when a series of hurried footsteps came from afar. Very quickly, they arrived in front of the door. Then, someone politely knocked on the door a few times. "Who is it?" Jia Jinyan asked loudly. "Grandpa, I am Jia Huyan. May I ask if you have time now? I would like to discuss something with you." Jia Huyan respectfully replied from outside the door. "Huyan, come in." Jia Jinyan was a little surprised. He didn't know why Jia Huyan was looking for him. This kid had always been someone who wouldn't wake up without benefits. He rarely took the initiative to discuss things with Jia Jinyan. Basically, he acted alone, acting first and reporting later. What was going on today? Did the sun rise from the west? Jia Huyan pushed the door open and saw Jia Huyan in a suit and leather shoes. He stood at the door and adjusted his collar, smoothed his hair, and made himself look like a dog. Only then did he step into the study room. "Jia Muzin, what are you doing here?" After walking a few steps, Jia Huyan was able to clearly see the situation in the room. He was immediately stunned. He originally wanted to look for Jia Jinyan alone to discuss, but when he entered the room, he saw Jia Muzin sitting in front of the desk. His expression couldn't help but become a little embarrassed as he blurted out, "Grandpa asked me to come here. Can I be here?" Jia Muzin glanced at Jia Huyan, who was in a well-ironed suit, and casually said, "If you have something that you want to avoid me to tell Grandpa, you can find another time to come. If you are in a hurry, I can also go back first." Although he said that, Jia Muzin didn't have any intention of standing up and leaving. Instead, he sat on the chair even more leisurely, crossing his legs and swinging them. In the past, Jia Muzin was the target of oppression and humiliation in the family. There was nothing wrong with Jia Huyan directly calling him by his name, but now that he had become the successor of the family head, Jia Huyan was still arrogant and commanding him around. Jia Muzin naturally wouldn't give him any face. Chapter 1070. Jia Jinyan was a shrewd old man. He keenly sensed Jia Huyan's hostility towards Jia Muzin. He frowned slightly. Obviously, he was not satisfied with Jia Huyan's attitude. He opened his mouth and said, Huiyan, I was discussing clan issues with Muzin. Why did you come looking for me? At this, Jia Huiyan looked left and right. He stammered and couldn't say anything. The matter he wanted to talk about this time was related to Jia Muzin. However, he didn't know what to say in the presence of the person in question. Even if he was stupid and impulsive, he could still hear Jia Jinyan's defense of Jia Muzin. He finally reacted. This guy in front of him was the future patriarch of the Jia clan. He was no longer a nobody that he could chase away. It seems that the matter you want to talk about is not very important. Forget it, I also have something to talk to you about. Jia Jinyan didn't give Jia Huiyan too much time to think. He pointed to another chair in front of him and signaled for Jia Huiyan to sit down. May I ask why Grandpa is looking for me? Jia Huiyan was sweating profusely. He carefully placed half of his butt on the chair and asked in fear and trepidation. Jia Jinyan rummaged for a while and took out another set of documents. He pointed at the cover and said, "Since you are going to be an elder in the future, you should familiarize yourself with these documents. After reading the documents, write a plan for the future development of the Jia clan. There will be a clan meeting in 3 days. At that time, give me the plan." Plan a plan? Jia Huiyan's mouth was wide open. He had a sluggish look on his face. Other than eating, drinking and playing, he only knew how to cause trouble for the Jia clan. His father Jia Yubian had to help him deal with the aftermath. How could such a brain-burning thing like a plan be written in such a short time? What's wrong? Is there any difficulty? Jia Jinyan looked at Jia Huiyan with a solemn expression and asked with concern. However, in his heart, he was extremely disappointed. Fortunately, the position of the clan head had been passed on to Jia Muzin. Otherwise, if it fell into the hands of Jia Huiyan, it would not take long for the Jia clan to fall into his hands. Looking at how ignorant and incompetent Jia clan was, and how he didn't even know how to write a proposal, it would not be long before the Jia clan fell into his hands. No problem. How could Jia Huiyan dare to say there was any difficulty? He could only bite the bullet and agree. He frowned as he looked at the stack of documents in front of him. He felt like his head was about to explode. How was he supposed to start with so many documents? That's good. Later, I will send someone to inform Jia Tuyao and Jia Renzhong and ask them to make a plan as well. This will be the test for you four before you take office. Jia Jinyan's gaze moved back and forth between Jia Muzin and Jia Huiyan. I also want to see if you youngsters can help the Jia clan make some changes and inject fresh blood into the Jia clan. Jia Muzin smiled faintly and said, "Don't worry, Grandpa. I'll definitely study the information diligently and do my best to hand in a satisfactory answer sheet." Me too. Jia Huiyan hurriedly agreed. However, he secretly rolled his eyes at Jia Muzin. "You stinking brat, can you stop talking big here? If you can't complete the plan, let's see how you're going to clean up this mess." "I won't, but I have my father." Jia Jinyan nodded in satisfaction and said, "All right, you guys go back and look at the information first. If there's nothing else, don't waste my time." "Okay, Grandpa. I'll take my leave first." Jia Muzin stood up and saluted. He faintly glanced at the absent-minded Jia Huiyan, picked up the information that belonged to him, turned around, and left the study. "Grandpa, I'll also take my leave." Although Jia Huiyan looked reluctant, he had no other choice but to obey. Watching the two of them leave, Jia Jinyan slightly sighed, then ordered a servant to fetch Jia Tuyao and Jia Renzhong. After that, he picked up the teacup on the table, took a sip, and fell into deep thought. Jia Huiyan returned to his room, took out the information, and tried to look at it for a while. In less than 5 minutes, he felt dizzy and couldn't even tell north from south. After persisting for a while, Jia Huiyan decisively threw the information on the table and gave up after turning a few pages. When Jia Yubian heard the commotion, he walked out of the room and saw Jia Huiyan sitting there sulking. There was a messy pile of files on the table. He asked in surprise, "Huiyan, what are you smashing? Where did the information on the table come from?" "Alas, don't mention it," Jia Huiyan dejectedly complained. "I saw that Xiao Chun was not in the family for the past 2 days, so I planned to go to Grandpa's place to talk about the marriage proposal with Tang Xuanjiao. I didn't expect that when I walked into the study, Jia Muzin was also there. In the end, not only did the marriage proposal fail, Grandpa also gave me this pile of information. What information? What's it for? Jia Yubian frowned and walked over. It's some information about the family business. Grandpa told me to finish reading these things, then write a plan about the family's development, and give it to him during the family meeting in 3 days. Jia Huiyan gloomily sat on the chair and explained. This father is really too much. You haven't even touched the family business. How can you write a plan? The older he gets, the more muddle-headed he gets. Jia Yubian flipped through the information on the table. It was indeed all kinds of reports of the Jia family in recent years. Some of the contracts looked quite familiar, and it just so happened that he had personally signed the contracts with other sections. That's right. I just looked through a few pages. I know those words individually, but after putting them together, they recognize me. But I don't recognize them. Jia Huiyan held his head and looked distressed. After Jia Yubian looked through a few documents, he had a rough idea in his heart. He smiled and said, "All right, don't worry. I'll help you write the plan. You can focus on the marriage proposal." Really? That's great. Jia Huiyan was overjoyed. He slapped his thigh and said, "Father, you are a professional in this field. The plan that you write will definitely satisfy Grandpa. Maybe he will be happy and agree to my marriage with Tang Sujiao." In excitement, Jia Huiyan immediately stood up, tidied up his clothes and walked out of the door. He was ready to run to the study room and talk to Jia Jinyan again. Wait, you can't be planning to go now, right? Jia Yubian stopped Jia Huiyan and looked at him strangely. He thought to himself, isn't this kid a little too impatient? Of course, as long as you finish the plan, I'll quickly go and talk to Grandpa. Jia Huiyan nodded as if it was a matter of course. Otherwise, what if Xiao Chun comes back? He definitely won't agree to let me marry Tang Sujiao. Jia Huiyan didn't feel that anything was wrong at all. He just wanted to settle the marriage as soon as possible. That way, even if Xiao Chun came back, it would be useless. Chapter 1071. Silly boy. Even if I can write out the plan immediately, you can't go today. Aren't you rushing to make your grandfather suspect you? I really don't know what you're thinking. Jia Yubian glanced at Jia Huiyan and said unhappily. In his heart, he was beginning to doubt whether Jia Huiyan was his biological son. How could he not even think of this point? So stupid. That's right, I really didn't think of this point. Jia Huiyan stopped walking. His originally excited expression turned into one of deep worry. I'm just afraid that if this matter is dragged on for too long, it might lead to more problems. Problems my ass. Can't you wait until the family meeting to bring it up? And at that time, you can still. Jia Yubian smiled mysteriously and said the plan in this manner. The smooth process had obviously been carefully thought out. Too awesome. Why didn't I think of it? Jia Huiyan listened without blinking. He first sighed in admiration, then thought for a moment and asked hesitantly, but will there be any risks? After all, Jia Muzin is now the successor of the family. So what? Jia Yubian had an indifferent look on his face. He didn't take Jia Muzin seriously at all. Although this plan does have some loopholes, our Jia clan is a large clan. You have to remember, in large clans, we believe that the winner is the king and the loser is the thief. In many cases, as long as there is a good reason to suppress the other party to death, it will be fine. When the time comes, the person will be dead, and your grandfather will definitely not investigate further. Have you forgotten how Jia Muzin's parents died? That's right. This idea of yours is too wonderful. Jia Huiyan listened and nodded his head. He could not wait to go up and kiss Jia Yubian. He fell into endless fantasies. At that time, not only will Tang Xuanjiao have to obediently marry me, but Jia Muzin will also definitely not have the face to face his benefactor Xiao Chun. Under the unbearable shame, he will commit suicide. This way, we can kill two birds with one stone. It is simply too perfect. You really are my biological father. This intelligence, this strength, they are all top-notch. Nonsense. Of course I'm your biological father. Otherwise, why would I be so considerate of you? Jia Yubian didn't know whether to be angry or to laugh. He waved his hand and dismissed Jia Huiyan. Alright, stop flattering me. Hurry up and make the arrangements. I'm going to write the proposal. Don't bother me if there's nothing important. Alright, I'll arrange it right away. In a while, I will ask the servants to stew a ginseng soup for you to nourish your brain. Hee. Jia Huiyan immediately agreed. With a wicked smile he ran out. Jia Yubian shook his head and ignored him. He sat down and lit a cigarette. He took a few pieces of white paper and a pen. After thinking carefully for a while, he started writing on the paper. 3 days later, in the conference room of the Jia clan. Early in the morning, Jia Jinyan called everyone over and held a family meeting. During the meeting, he officially announced that Jia Muzin would take over the position of the young patriarch and become the rightful successor. In the meeting, Jia Huiyan, Jia Tuyao, and Jia Renzhong also became the successors of the 3 new elders. Jia Yubian and Jia Yudo gradually stepped back, and from now on, their main task was to assist the 3 new elders in their daily work. After Jia Jinyan finished his announcement, he asked everyone in the clan to express their views and opinions. In fact, many people were secretly dissatisfied with Jia Muzin. After all, he didn't have any background or qualifications. He had never deliberately curried favor with the members of the clan. Therefore, everyone had doubts about him becoming the patriarch. However, in the current situation, they had no choice but to say a few good words against their conscience. They gave Jia Muzin verbal support and encouragement. After all, Jia Jinyan was watching from the side with shining eyes. Alright, since everyone has finished speaking, then Jia Muzin, Jia Huiyan, Jia Tuyao, and Jia Renzhong, hand over the proposal that I asked you to do a few days ago. Let me see if you have any special suggestions. Jia Jinyan knocked on the table, glanced at everyone, and said indifferently, Grandpa, this is my proposal. Please have a look. Jia Huiyan was the most enthusiastic one. Before Jia Jinyan finished speaking, he took out his proposal and handed it to Jia Jinyan. When he walked back, he proudly glanced at Jia Muzin, as if he was showing off. Jia Tuyao also quickly took out his proposal and respectfully handed it to Jia Jinyan. With a sincere face he said, Grandpa, this is mine. Because I was in a hurry, my handwriting is a bit sloppy. I hope you can forgive me. The 2 of them did not deliberately conceal the proposal they had submitted. Everyone present saw the 3 or 4 pieces of paper that were densely filled with words. They secretly marveled at the 2 of them, who usually did not show off their strength. No one expected them to have such extraordinary strength the moment they made a move. Jia Muzin and Jia Renzhong glanced at each other. They looked a bit hesitant. They only had 2 pieces of proposal, and they only had a few dozens of suggestions. They couldn't compare with Jia Huiyan and Jia Renzhong's voluminous proposal. However, since Jia Jinyan was waiting for them, they had no choice but to brace themselves and hand over their proposals. Jia Jinyan didn't care about it. He first took Jia Huiyan's proposal and flipped through it. However, after reading a few lines, his originally relaxed expression became a bit strange. His eyebrows were tightly knitted, and the expression on his face was uncertain. Huiyan, did you write this proposal yourself? Jia Jinyan didn't make things difficult for Jia Huiyan immediately. Instead, he patiently read all the contents of Jia Huiyan's proposal. Then, he casually put it aside, raised his head, and asked with an expressionless face. Of course. You only gave me 3 days. In order to write this proposal, I didn't even sleep enough. It took me a lot of effort to write it. Jia Huiyan nodded without hesitation and said shamelessly. However, Jia Yubian, who was sitting at the side, had a slight change in expression. He was worried for his son. He guessed that Jia Jinyan must have noticed something wrong. Otherwise, he wouldn't have asked such a question. Oh, then let me ask you about what you wrote in the proposal. Jia Jinyan didn't directly expose him. Instead, he casually asked a few questions. Basically, they were all written in Jia Huiyan's proposal. Although Jia Jinyan could guess that this proposal was definitely written by Jia Yubian, he wasn't too obsessed with it. This was because he also knew what kind of conduct Jia Huiyan had in the family. The possibility of this kid writing a complete proposal in 3 days was too small. Jia Jinyan, on the other hand, believed that as long as Jia Huiyan could seriously read this proposal a few times, He should be able to learn a lot of things. It would also be helpful for him to serve as an elder in the future. Therefore, he brought up the problems in the proposal. He wanted to test whether Jia Huiyan understood the contents of the proposal. This, Grandpa, which part are you talking about? Please wait a moment. I wrote too much. Plus, I didn't get enough sleep. I can't remember it clearly. Jia Huiyan didn't expect Jia Jinyan to suddenly ask him a question. He was dumbfounded and stuttered as he explained. Chapter 1072. In the past 3 days, Jia Huiyan had been thinking about how to trick people perfectly in the family meeting. So he hadn't even touched that plan. Now, in a hurry, he subconsciously reached out his hand, trying to take another look at the plan. No need, go back and write another one. This one is invalid. Before Jia Huiyan could take the plan, Jia Jinyan snatched it away, tore it into pieces, and threw it into the dustbin on the side. Alright. Jia Huiyan helplessly watched the plan turn into a pile of trash. He lowered his head gloomily, as if he had nothing left to live for. Originally, he thought that he could perform well in the plan and win his grandfather's praise, which would severely dampen Jia Muzin's morale. However, it turned out that the loss outweighed the gain. Without even looking at Jia Huiyan, Jia Jinyan lowered his head and continued to read the next plan. Grandpa I suddenly remembered that my plan is also not good enough. How about you allow me to take it back and make some changes first, and then give it to you in a few days? Jia Tuyao's weak voice suddenly came from the meeting room. Seeing Jia Jinyan flipping through his own plan, Jia Tuyao was so scared that cold sweat flowed down his back. What happened to Jia Huiyan just now was still vivid in his mind. Jia Huiyan's plan was also not written by him, but written by Jia Yuto. Although Jia Tuyao had taken a few glances at the plan, based on the professional level of his grandfather's questions, he had no confidence that he could answer them at all. Jia Jinyan coldly stared at Jia Tuyao for a while, until the meeting room fell into silence. The strong pressure made Jia Tuyao's legs soften, and he almost knelt down. Jia Jinyan picked up his plan, tore it into pieces and said with a sullen face, I'll give you 3 more days. If you can't finish it by then, your father will continue to be responsible for your elder positions. When you two have learned to think and plan for the family, you can take the position again. Oh, all right. Jia Tuyao trembled under Jia Jinyan's stare. His face turned pale, and he dared not to say anything. Jia Jinyan's aura was too strong, and he couldn't even think of resisting. Then, Jia Jinyan picked up the other 2 plans, which were obviously written by himself, and patiently read them. After reading for a while, Jia Jinyan felt that although the content written by Jia Muzin and Jia Renzhong was still a little immature, especially when it came to considering the overall situation, it was still not bad overall. There were also a few shining points. It was just that they lacked practice and experience in some of the projects. Alright, Muzin Renzhong, I won't ask you questions about these 2 plans. I can see that you wrote them yourself, which is commendable. Putting down the proposal in his hand, Jia Jinyan patiently instructed, You have to spend more time reading up in the future, especially the past transactions and plans of the family. If there's anything you don't understand, you can ask me directly. Yes, we will follow your instructions. Jia Muzin and Jia Renzhong secretly heaved a sigh of relief and replied in unison. Jia Jinyan, Jia Yet. Jia and stood. You, Jia, comma. Oh! Jia Jinyan, who was about to walk out, stopped in surprise. He glanced at the usually silent Jia Qinu, and then looked at the restless Jia Huiyan. He had a rough idea in his heart and lightly said, What's the matter? Speak. Jia Qinu took a deep breath, saluted and said, Grandpa, as the patriarch, shouldn't I be selfless and guarantee the interests of everyone in the family? Not only can I not bully the people in the family, but I also have to lead everyone to unite against external enemies? Correct. Jia Jinyan nodded, although he couldn't figure out what Jia Qinu was trying to do by saying this. He remembered that the family already had a young patriarch, Jia Muzin. He turned his head and asked, Muzin, as the young patriarch, what do you think? Grandfather, I also think that what Jia Quan'el said is correct. If the patriarch is unable to bring benefits to the clan, and is unable to protect his own clansmen, then this patriarch is definitely not competent enough. Jia Muzin stood up and declared with a solemn expression. He could guess that Jia Qinu definitely didn't have any good intentions for jumping out at this time. But since his grandpa threw these words at him, he couldn't pretend that he didn't hear it. He could only choose to adapt to the situation. Muzin, since you said so, then I have a question to ask you. Jia Huiyan finally moved. He stood up and said with an innocent face. What question? I'll answer as much as I can. Jia Muzin secretly thought that the main topic had finally come. He didn't know what kind of trick Jia Huiyan would play this time. Jia Huiyan sighed heavily. He looked straight into Jia Muzin's eyes and said, as the new young patriarch, is it convenient for you to explain why my legitimate fiancé, Tang Xuanjiao, is actually staying in your room? Tell me, do you have any shameful relationship with her? What? Don't talk nonsense. Tian. Tang Xuanjiao is innocent. She is Xiao Chen's girlfriend. Jia Muzin was startled. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he explained. This Jia Huiyan was really too much. If he wanted to suppress me, he should at least clarify the matter first. Xiao Chen's girlfriend? Then I find it strange. No matter what, he is the external help you invited. You aren't planning to sacrifice the interests of your family members to curry favor with an outsider, right? Jia Huiyan's tone gradually became sharp. This is an act of betraying the family. The originally quiet conference hall gradually became filled with whispers. Many people were usually busy with their own affairs and didn't know the specific situation of this matter. At this time, they were whispering to each other and casting surprised gazes at Jia Muzin. Jia Muzin faintly felt that something was wrong. Just as he was about to open his mouth to refute, Jia Huiyan didn't give him the opportunity. Jia Huiyan shook his head and said, Jia Huiyan, although I lost to you in the family grand competition, I am still the young elder of the family. How can I receive this kind of treatment? What if it was an ordinary Jia family member? Wouldn't it be even more impossible to reason with them, and could only let you bully them? The originally whispering voices suddenly became louder. Some of the family members who didn't know the truth were moved by Jia Huiyan's words, and looked at Jia Muzin with dissatisfaction. You even dare to bully the elder of the family? Then wouldn't we all be trampled underfoot? This young patriarch was too unreliable. He had just taken office, yet he was already so arrogant and despotic. These are two different matters. Don't confuse them. Before I returned to the family, Tang Xuanjiao was already Xiao Chen's girlfriend. You are clearly twisting words and forcing logic. Jia Muzin's complexion changed as he immediately refuted. Chapter 1073. At this moment, he finally understood that Jia Huiyan seemed to be complaining for his fiancée, but in fact, he just wanted to take the opportunity to make trouble and ruin his image, so that he could regain the position of the family head. Young Master Mu Sun, why do I feel that you are the unreasonable one? Jia Shuluo also stood up at this moment. He passionately said, you are the patriarch, of course you should protect everyone's benefits. How can you ruin young Master Huiyan's engagement for an outsider? Jia Shulu snorted coldly, pinched his throat, and said in a weird tone, I remember that young Master Huiyan was already engaged to Tang Sujiao before you ran away from home. Don't you know about this? Or are you pretending to be stupid to cover up for Xiao Chen? Yeah, Mu-san, I think what you are doing is really inappropriate. Yeah, if we can't even protect our own interests, how can we work for you in the future? That's right. I think young Master Mu-san is looking down on us Jia family members. Otherwise, why would he run away from home? He must be holding a grudge. At this moment, Jia Tuyao and the others chimed in as well. Although Jia Huiyan had only given them a simple greeting beforehand, under the current situation, people with evil intentions would certainly not let go of this great opportunity. In just a few minutes, Jia Tuyao had already made up his mind. As long as he followed Jia Huiyan and pushed Jia Muzin down, the position of the family head would be vacant. At that time, both of them could compete for the position of family head with their own abilities, and either of them could succeed. Jia Jinyan looked at the chaotic scene in front of him, and his face turned a bit ugly. Of course, he knew about the incident with Tang Sujiao. However, this kind of small favor and love between two parties had always been a matter of mutual consent. If he really wanted to calculate, it would definitely be a big mess. Therefore, he usually chose to turn a blind eye to it. However, he didn't expect that Jia Huiyan would bring up this matter. And he even chose to stir up the emotions of the clansmen during the family meeting. Under the agitation of the crowd, even if he wanted to protect Jia Muzin, he couldn't. He had to come up with a solution to calm the situation first. Mu-san, since everyone has objections, how do you think we should deal with this matter? Jia Jinyan interrupted everyone's jeering and said with slight impatience. In fact, he was unwilling to deal with this kind of problem from the bottom of his heart. Jia Jinyan felt that complaining to the patriarch about everything and not being able to solve it himself was a sign of cowardice. It was just like when you fought with someone when you were young and accidentally lost. Not only did you not think about how to make yourself stronger so that you could win the next time, you would cry and complain to your parents, using the adult sympathy to get your parents to deal with your opponent. Seeing your opponent being defeated, you would feel proud and elated, but in the end, you would not make any progress. This, I think. Jia Muzin naturally wouldn't agree to Jia Huiyan's request, but he couldn't think of a solution at the moment. With an awkward expression, he lowered his head and thought for a while. Finally, he made a decision and said, I think we should ask for Miss Tang's opinion on this matter. We can't decide someone else's marriage by ourselves. Ask her? What's the use of asking her? This marriage was decided by the elders of the Jia family and the Tang family together. How could she have the right to decide whether she would marry or not? Is there a need to ask? Jia Huiyan was unforgiving after gaining the upper hand. He asked aggressively, Muzin, look at you. You're actually speaking up for an outsider again and again. Don't tell me that you've forgotten your roots so quickly after taking the position of the young patriarch. Don't make irresponsible remarks. Jia Muzin suppressed his anger and said with a frown, Of course, that's not what I meant. Although the marriage between you and her was decided by the elders of both sides, you still have to respect her opinion. We're not an ancient feudal family. Everyone here is educated. How can we arbitrarily control someone else's fate? Jia Muzin cursed Jia Huiyan to death in his heart. He didn't expect this guy to be so shameless. He couldn't get the position of the young patriarch, so he made a big fuss about marriage. If he couldn't protect Tian Soran this time, wouldn't Xiao Chen tear him apart when he returned? Jia Huiyan's method of killing two birds with one stone was really vicious. Oh, you're pretty good at talking, huh? Do you think you're amazing just because you've attended a few days of university? What kind of higher education did you receive? Jia Huiyan snorted disdainfully at Jia Muzin's words. He raised his chin and sneered. Back then, grandfather also agreed to my marriage with Tang Sujiao. Aren't your words the same as accusing grandfather of not being educated, of not respecting a lady, and of being an unreasonable person? I didn't say that. What I meant was, Jia Muzin was speechless. This Jia Huiyan's intentions were sinister. He actually dragged Jia Jinyan into this. For a moment, Jia Muzin didn't know how to defend himself. What are you trying to say? Say it. Didn't you claim to be educated and very reasonable? How did you become mute so quickly? Why don't you continue to argue? Jia Huiyan's arrogance soared. He crossed his arms and said with a fake smile. Bang! Just as Jia Muzin's face turned red, and he was thinking of how to refute, the meeting room's door was suddenly pushed open. Everyone was paying close attention to the two people who were at daggers drawn. When they were suddenly interrupted, they turned their heads in a bad mood. However, they discovered that it was actually Xiao Chun and little Lash Xing, standing leisurely at the door. Aya, are you guys having a meeting? I'm really sorry we are late. Xiao Chun casually waved his hand and walked in casually, sitting on the chair beside Jia Muzin. Little Lash Xing was stunned. She didn't expect that Xiao Chun would walk in directly. After hesitating for a while, she followed him into the meeting room and found a seat not far behind Xiao Chun. Everyone from the Jia clan was either sitting or standing. They all stared dumbfoundedly at Xiao Chun's actions. What was up with this guy? Why did he act like this was his home? Why was he acting so familiar? Xiao Chen crossed his legs and waited for a while. Seeing that no one was talking, he said in astonishment, Why did you stop? Although I know that I am handsome, you don't have to look at me with such admiration. Don't be affected by me. Hurry up and continue with your discussion. Xiao Chen, this is our Jia clan's meeting. What does it have to do with you? Do you really think that you are the master of the Jia clan? Hurry up and scram. Jia Huiyan was so angry that smoke was coming out of his head. Just as his perfect plan was about to succeed, he didn't expect that Xiao Chen would suddenly return and immediately chase them away. That's right. Why don't you look at your own status? You are just an external helper. What right does you have to participate in the Jia clan's internal meeting? Jia Tuyao immediately echoed. He also realized that the situation was not good. If he allowed Xiao Chen to interfere, this good situation would very likely be ruined. Chapter 1074. TSK, you two are indeed good friends who pick up each other's soap. Even your statements are so uniform. Xiao Chen glanced at them and mocked coldly. Don't talk about useless things, hurry up and leave. Otherwise, don't blame us for being impolite. Jia Huiyan glared at Xiao Chen fiercely. He wasn't afraid of Xiao Chen in front of his grandfather and family members. Xiao Chen shook his head and turned to Miss Xing helplessly. Aya, young master transvestite, you came to attend the ceremony for the appointment of the Jia family's young master under elder son's order. But these guys actually want to drive you away. They really don't give face to Awakening Heaven sect. They don't take you seriously at all. They are courting death. I think you should go back and report, and directly launch a war against Demon Sect. Demon Sect war? It doesn't seem to have reached that level yet. Xingyu declined to comment, and said indifferently. Although she didn't know what Xiao Chen wanted to do, since he was here, she would cooperate with him. Anyway, she didn't have much of a relationship with the Jia family. Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao immediately became silent. Their arrogant expressions were still on their faces. But in the blink of an eye, they were replaced by astonishment. Their faces twisted a little. Originally, they just wanted to drive Xiao Chen away, so they could continue the previous topic. They completely forgot that young Master Xing was beside them. As a result, they unintentionally offended Awakening Heaven sect. When Xiao Chen said this, they could still treat it as a joke or a threat. But looking at young Master Xing's response, it didn't seem like he was talking nonsense. Suddenly they didn't know what to do. They subconsciously looked at Jia Jinyan, wanting to ask for help from the most experienced family head. Young Master Xing is right, there is indeed no need. Jia Jinyan was a little disappointed with Jia Huiyan and Jia Tuyao, but he still smiled and came out to smooth things over. Although I have already announced the end of the meeting, we are now just chatting after the meeting. If young Master Xing is interested in our chat, why not? Family head is still the most sensible. Unlike some youngsters who think they're infallible and speak incoherently, they don't know what they're talking about. Xiao Chen did not pursue the matter. Instead, he cupped his hands towards Jia Jinyan. Jia Jinyan smiled. He was very satisfied with Xiao Chen's willingness to quit while he was ahead. His gaze moved back and forth between young Master Xing and Xiao Chen. Although he had not figured out the relationship between these two people for the time being, Qi Tian sect could not be offended no matter what. Even if the Jia family was one of the three big families in the inner martial arts circle, there was still a big gap between them and Qi Tian sect, the leader of the demon sect. Mu's son, what were you guys talking about before I came? Xiao Chen pretended that he did not see Jia Jinyan's probing gaze. He asked calmly, look at all these people fighting so fiercely, as if they are going to divide the family property. The Jia clan hasn't reached the point where they are going to divide the family property, right? That's not it. It's just that Jia Huiyan said he wanted to marry Tang Xuanjiao. That is Tian Xuanjiao. I expressed my opposition, but they wouldn't agree no matter what. They insisted that I give them a reasonable explanation. Jia Muzin explained. Jia Muzin's mood was very relaxed. Since Xiao Chen had returned, he was not so anxious to get angry. Arguing was not his strong point, but Xiao Chen was not to be trifled with. He would definitely teach them a lesson. Oh, isn't it just tape? Just give them some double-sided tape or scotch tape. At worst, give them the expensive 3M tape. What's there to be reasonable about? It's scary to be uneducated. Xiao Chen shrugged his shoulders. He glanced at Jia Huiyin and Jia Tuyao, as if they were fools. His expression was very disdainful. Jia Huiyin's face turned red with anger after hearing Xiao Chen's sarcastic words. However, he felt a little helpless in his heart. Xiao Chen was not a member of the Jia clan. The tricks that he had thought of before were completely useless against him. After thinking for a long time, Jia Huiyin could only choose to use the Tang clan as a bargaining chip to threaten Xiao Chen. He hoped that he would know how to retreat. Xiao Chen, don't think that just because you have the Open Heaven sect supporting you, you can do whatever you want in the Jia clan. Jia Huiyin shouted without any confidence. Tang Xuanjiao and I already had an engagement. It was decided by the elders of both sides. If you forcefully take her as your woman, aren't you afraid that the Tang clan? As if he did not hear Jia Huiyin's words, Xiao Chen did not wait for him to finish his demonstration. He leisurely turned his head and said to Miss Xing, as if there was no one else present. Ladyboy, do you believe that I don't even need to beat him up? That idiot will voluntarily give up and give me Tian Xuanjiao? Che, how is that possible? Of course I don't believe it. Miss Xing curled her lips. Although she said that, she was very curious. She had a faint feeling that since Xiao Chen could say it, he would definitely be able to do it. You don't believe it? Then open your eyes wide and watch. Xiao Chen smiled and did not explain further. Immediately, he released his soul consciousness and attacked Jia Huiyin. Jia Huiyin paused for a moment before he said aloud, "It doesn't matter if I'm not afraid of the Tang clan. I choose to voluntarily give up Tang Xuanjiao. In the future, she can marry anyone she wants. It has nothing to do with me. If I continue to harass her, I'll be struck by lightning." After he finished speaking, the entire meeting room became silent. It was so quiet that even the drop of a needle could be heard. Everyone was dumbfounded, especially Jia Huiyin's subordinates and Jia Tuyao's group. Their faces were full of disbelief. They did not know what Jia Huiyin was thinking. He actually sent the duck that was already in his mouth back into the hands of Xiao Chen. Jia Jinyan frowned. He was also a little puzzled. Although he had guessed that Xiao Chen might be playing tricks in the dark, he did not feel any demonic qi this time. What was going on? In fact, once a cultivator reached the nascent soul stage, they would have reached a state where they could return to their original state. Unless the other party was also a nascent soul stage cultivator. Even a 10th stage venerable realm cultivator, at the peak, would not be able to sense anything strange. Well, what's wrong? What did I say just now? Jia Huiyin had already regained his senses. Seeing that everyone was staring at him strangely, he could not help but feel a little dizzy. He felt that his head was muddled, and he had no idea what had just happened. Hehe. Since Jia Huiyin has voluntarily given up on this marriage, let's just forget about today's matter. I will let go of the humiliation he gave me before. After all, as the young master of the family, I have to be broad-minded. Don't you think so, Grandpa? Jia Muzin stood up and spoke unhurriedly. He knew that Xiao Chen had secretly done something, so he was not surprised at all. Yes, you're right. All right, if there's nothing else, let's adjourn. Jia Jinyan nodded and took a deep look at Xiao Chen. He was very surprised that Xiao Chen had hidden the demonic qi so well this time. He wanted to ask how he did it, but he felt that this was not the right time. Thus, he walked to the door of the meeting room and left first. Chapter 1075. Xiao Chen stretched his body. After Jia Jinyan left the conference room, he didn't want to stay any longer. He stood up and hooked one arm around Jia Muzin's shoulder, while the other was about to hook Miss Xing's shoulder. In the end, Miss Xing dodged and glared at Xiao Chen. I'm not touching you anymore. You're so stingy. You're really a ladyboy. Xiao Chen had no choice but to walk out with Jia Muzin. Miss Xing snorted angrily and followed Xiao Chen out of the conference room. Before leaving, Xiao Chen glanced at Jia Huiyin coldly, as if he was looking at a dead man. He originally didn't want to kill Jia Huiyin, But this idiot actually dug his own grave by targeting Tian Suruan. How could Xiao Chen tolerate this? Therefore, Jia Huiyan was already on Xiao Chen's blacklist. A while later, most of the people in the meeting room had left. Both Jia Huiyan and Jia Tiao had dark looks on their faces and left without saying a word to each other. Soon, the entire meeting room was empty, and no one could be seen. At this time, in a corner not far from the conference room, a black shadow was hiding in the shadows, staring at the situation in the conference room. Until no one came out of the conference room for a long time, the black shadow looked around. After confirming that there were no outsiders nearby, he took out his phone and dialed a number. "It's you? Aren't you going to attend the family meeting today? Why do you have time to call me?" After the call was connected, a cold voice came from the other end of the phone. "Elder son, the meeting has just ended. That old bastard Jia Jinyan has already announced that Jia Muzin will be promoted to the position of the young family head. I'm afraid that we will have to make some changes to our previous plan," the black shadow said gloomily. From his tone, he sounded very indignant. It seemed that he had great resentment towards Jia Jinyan and Jia Muzin. "Back then, when you told me that Jia Muzin had hired Xiao Chen as external aid, I had already expected this outcome." Elder Sun was very calm when he heard this news. In his opinion, if Jia Muzin didn't become the family head, it would really be a little strange. "Sigh, it's a pity that we've prepared so much in advance, but a piece of rat poop has ruined the whole pot of porridge." The black shadow still hadn't let it go and murmured. Elder Sun smiled and said indifferently, "But you don't need to be too anxious. Don't we have a backup plan? We can officially start now." "All right, we can start now." The shadowy figure nodded and suddenly remembered something. He asked, "Oh yes, Elder Sun, why did young Master Xing attend the clan meeting today? Moreover, he even said that you sent him here. If you don't let him participate, Awakening Heaven Sect will launch a war against the Demon Sect. What's going on? Is this your arrangement?" Elder Sun was stunned and a little confused. He shook his head in astonishment and said, "No. I've never given her such an order. Did she tell you this herself?" "That's not it. We were originally in the middle of a meeting, and were about to succeed when Xiao Chun and young Master Xing suddenly barged in." Then, the shadowy figure recounted everything that had happened in the meeting in detail. "Oh, I did arrange for young Master Xing to spy on Xiao Chen, but according to what you said, it's no longer surveillance. It's more like accompanying him." Elder Sun was very puzzled. After thinking for a long time, he said cautiously, "Could it be young Master Xing betrayed Awakening Heaven Sect? That's also impossible. She has always been very loyal to the sect. Ever since she was young, she has never had any problems." However, although Elder Sun said this, he also recalled that although he hadn't contacted Xing last recently, he also hadn't received any calls from her. Logically speaking, after not contacting her for such a long time, if it was a mission in the past, Xing La should have taken the initiative to give him a call and report the situation. Could it be that there really was a problem? "Elder Sun, do you think young Master Xing has been used by Xiao Chen? I think you should be more careful. He should have quite a bit of information on Awakening Heaven Sect, right? If he turns around and helps Xiao Chen to deal with us, then we'll be in big trouble." The shadowy figure analyzed clearly. He's just a dog raised by Awakening Heaven Sect." Elder Sun snorted lightly and said with a tone full of disdain, "Moreover, I have something on young Master Xing that even she doesn't know about. If she really dares to betray the sect, it'll be as easy as flipping my hand if I want to kill her." Although Elder Sun did have a trace of vigilance in his heart, he didn't intend to tell the shadowy figure that this guy was only a partner of Awakening Heaven Sect. There was no need to show fear in front of him. Hee, as the saying goes, even a cornered dog will jump over a wall. I advise you to be careful. The shadowy figure didn't buy it and replied indifferently, "You don't need to worry about that. I naturally have my own methods. You just need to clean up your own mess. Otherwise, the foundation of our cooperation will be in danger." Elder Sun said sinisterly and didn't wait for the shadowy figure to say anything else. He immediately hung up the phone. After playing with the phone for a while, Elder son seemed to be thinking about something. After thinking it through, he immediately called young lady Xing. Do. The number you have dialed is currently switched off. Your call information has been sent to the other party in the form of a text message. Please. Hearing the notification tone, elder son was slightly startled. In his memory, young lady Xing's phone had never been switched off. The sect had a rule that disciples' phones had to be on standby 24/7. Why was it switched off? After waiting for a few more minutes, elder son tried to dial young lady Xing's number again. However, the notification tone was still switched off. This time, he was completely infuriated. His fingers flew around randomly as he opened up an app on his phone. He stared at the green confirm button for a while. His fingers trembled slightly in the air, but he didn't press it in the end. Perhaps her phone ran out of battery, and she couldn't find a place to charge it. This kind of situation was very normal when she was out on a mission. In the past, when young lady Xing went out on missions, her completion rate was basically 100%. Furthermore, she had followed Xiao Chun before. It wasn't very likely that she would suddenly betray him this time. Forget it, I'll call her again in a bit. After comforting himself, elder son put down his phone and casually took a book from the bookshelf. He absent-mindedly flipped through a few pages, but his eyes didn't land on the pages. Instead, he stared fixedly at the phone, hoping that young lady Xing would quickly switch on her phone and give him a reply. Xiao Chun and the others walked towards Jia Muzhen's courtyard. When they reached a place where there was no one, Jia Muzhen let out a long sigh and said, Xiao Chun, luckily you came back in time. Otherwise I really wouldn't know how to handle this. Jia Huiyan is really despicable. Chapter 1076. It's nothing. This is my problem anyway. Xiao Chun waved his hand. Because there was some trouble at the mine, I accidentally caused a high-level spiritual jade mine to collapse. Jia Jinyan then sent more people to investigate. In order not to arouse any suspicions, I could only return first. It was just a coincidence that I was in a meeting. After speaking, Xiao Chun sighed lightly. Although he had used the past few days to stabilize his original infant stage cultivation, he was afraid that he would not have the chance to use spiritual jades to level up in a short period of time. He had tried to sneak into other mines to absorb more spiritual jades. In the end, he discovered that every mine had increased the number of guards. Moreover, there were Jia Jinyan's trusted aides mixed in. He had no way of using Jia Hongyong's connections to sneak in. In the end, he could only give up. It was a pity. Jia Muzhen looked at the two strangely and laughed. Speaking of which, why did the two of you come back together? Could it be, hee? Xiao Chun heard Jia Muzhen's words and immediately denied it. Don't be silly. Why would I like this transvestite? Screw you. You're the transvestite. Just now in front of so many people, I didn't argue with you. Now you're still not done. In any case, I saved your life. Can't you say something nice? Little girl Xing placed her hands on her hips and scolded angrily. She didn't know why, but she was more and more concerned about Xiao Chun being called a transvestite. Every time it was mentioned, she would feel suffocated. She wanted to tear that mouth of Xiao Chun's. All right, eunuch Xing, may I ask what you plan to do next? You've been watching me for so many days. That should be enough, right? Hurry up and report to that elder son of yours. Prepare to pack up and return home. Xiao Chun waved his hand and said with a grin. Actually, Xiao Chun was a little surprised. Previously, when he told little girl Xing to prepare to return, he thought that she wouldn't follow him back to the Jia clan. He didn't expect her to follow him back. You! Little Miss Xing was so angry that she stomped her feet. She wanted to make a move, but she realized that she couldn't beat Xiao Chun. Her eyes rolled around, and her expression immediately became one of grievance. She took out her phone and pouted unhappily. When I saved you in the mine, my phone was smashed. How am I supposed to contact elder son? If you want me to go back, then cut the crap and compensate me with a new phone. Xiao Chun lowered his head to take a look. He discovered that there was indeed a large crack on Xing's phone screen. There were even some blood stains on it. The scene in the mine seemed to replay before his eyes. His heart was instantly filled with warmth, and he felt that he owed this chick I'll compensate you with a strand of hair. Who told you to use the apple six plath? Although he felt guilty, Xiaochen still teased Xing. Then he took out his phone and threw it on the ground. What do you mean by this? Little Miss Xing was stunned. Did this Xiaochen become stupid after being smashed in the mine? My phone is broken, and he wants to smash his phone to accompany me? Isn't this action a little too unimaginable? Xiaochen leisurely squatted down and picked up the phone that was smashed on the ground. He waved it in front of little Miss Xing, and the phone was actually still in perfect condition. Look at Appa's triple defense counterfeit phone. Not only is it cheaper than yours, it has 2 modes and 2 standby modes. It has an extremely long standby time, and it's also resistant to smashing, water, and transvestites. Hurry up and change to another one. The discounted price is only $399. Xiaochen said proudly, dragging out his tone. Little Miss Xing almost rolled her eyes. Is this Xiaochen a clown? Is he using his life to make a joke? What if it really breaks? She curled her lips and continued to insist. I don't care. Anyway, my phone was destroyed because of you. You must compensate me with a new one. Otherwise, I will stay here and not leave. It wasn't that little Miss Xing didn't want to leave. It was just that after interacting with Xiaochen for the past few days, she felt that staying by his side was more relaxing. It was much better than going back to the sect and facing those expressionless people. Young Master Xing, I do have a few phones that have been lying around. They are brand new and have been placed there as a backup. However, they aren't Apple phones. If you don't mind, you can take one over to use. I don't change my phone often. If I don't use it for too long, it might break, Jiamuzhen, who was standing at the side, said with a smile. Knowing that little Miss Xing had saved Xiaochen's life, Jiamuzhen was extremely grateful to her. Not only did he give her a phone, he was even willing to give her something more expensive. Are you serious? What brand are those phones that you have lying around? Are they the same as Xiaochen's? Are they triple defense phones? Little Miss Xing asked casually. What? Are you looking down on our triple defense phones? They are cheap, good quality, and durable. They are much better than your Apple phones. Xiaochen raised his eyebrows, his face full of displeasure. I'm really not sure about this. It might not even be as good as Xiaochen's triple defense phone. It was given to me by my family a few years ago. After I left, I didn't plan on contacting my family, so I just left it there. Jiamuzhen recalled and said with a bitter smile. Oh, that's fine. As long as it can be used. Little Miss Xing waved her hand. She didn't really mind the triple defense phone. As long as she could make calls and send messages, it was fine. Alright, then wait a moment. I will go find it for you. Jiamuzhen immediately ran to his courtyard. When he left home, he had stuffed the phone in a corner of his room. He didn't know if Jia Quinchu, who had taken over his home, had found it and thrown it away. Xiaochen and little Miss Xing stopped at the same time. They didn't follow him in. Instead, they stood outside the courtyard and chatted idly. Xiaochen didn't plan on letting little Miss Xing meet his lovers. When the time came, it would be too troublesome to explain the ins and outs. Furthermore, little Miss Xing was a girl. If anyone got suspicious and got jealous, he wouldn't be able to explain himself. He would have to spend a lot of effort to coax them. Therefore, it was better not to meet them. As for little Miss Xing, she didn't know why she had some hostility towards Cheng Minjing and the other girls. Moreover, when she thought about meeting them, she felt a little guilty. Seeing that Xiaochen had stopped, she also stopped. After chatting for a while, Jiamuzhen ran back with a dusty box in his hand. He excitedly ran in front of Xiaochen and little Miss Xing. This is it. Luckily, Jia Quinchu didn't take it out. I haven't opened it yet, so I don't know if it's okay. Jiamuzhen handed over the box. Little Miss Xing hadn't even reached out her hand when Xiaochen took it. He quickly opened the lid and looked inside. He was instantly stunned. This is little smart. You what? Little Miss Xing was just about to throw a tantrum at Xiaochen, who had taken action without permission. After hearing what Xiaochen said, she was also stunned. She watched as Xiaochen took out the little smart from the box and handed it to her. Chapter 1077. Lowering her head to look at the brand new little smart, Xing was stunned speechless for a long time. This thing wasn't even as good as a phone. What's wrong? What's with your expressions? Can this phone be used? Jia Muzin looked at Xiao Chun, then looked at Xing, and saw that both of them looked like they had been struck by lightning. He couldn't help but ask in bewilderment. Prince Ladyboy, do you want to try it? Even though Little Smart is pretty much obsolete now, this has never been opened before. Maybe it can still be used? Xiao Chun scratched his head and held onto a sliver of hope. Xing came back to her senses and hesitantly pressed the power button on the Little Smart. She discovered that it really could be turned on. The stored battery had not been used up. However, when she tried to make a call, she encountered difficulties. After a full 5 minutes, little Miss Xing finally sighed and gave up. This won't do. There's no signal here. I can't make a call. Why is it like this? Jia Muzin took the Little Smart and fiddled with it for a long time. Finally, he became discouraged and said embarrassedly, Sorry, I thought this would work. It's fine. Xiao Chun patted Jia Muzin's shoulder and took out his own phone. He handed it to Xing and said, You should use my phone to tell elder son that you're safe. Even though it's a counterfeit apple, you can still make a call. Xing didn't reach out her hand. Instead, she pouted and said, It doesn't matter if it's an apple or not. But this is your phone. If I use your phone number to call him, how am I going to explain it to him? I said you're stupid, but you're really stupid. Xiao Chun looked at her with disappointment. Just say that you look too devilish. I'm attracted to both men and women. I'm preparing to pursue you. Pfft. Cough, you really know how to bullshit. Little Miss Xing choked badly and rolled her eyes at Xiao Chun in annoyance. How about it? It's fine if you don't accept it. I have nothing to lose anyway. Just as Xiao Chun was about to take his phone back, Xing snatched it away from his hand. She glared at him and walked a few steps away to make a call. Sigh, women are creatures that say one thing but mean another. Xiao Chun sighed and didn't follow them. He stood there and chatted with Jia Muzin. Although little Miss Xing was shocked by Xiao Chun's method, after thinking about it, she did not refuse. If she used this excuse, then after she reported it to the sect, she would be able to openly follow Xiao Chun. There would be no need to secretly think of ways to monitor him. Moreover, she would not have to worry about the sect misunderstanding anything. She didn't know why, but she suddenly felt that this job was pretty good. Hello, is this elder son? Little Lady Xing borrowed Xiao Chun's phone to make a call. It's you? What's wrong with you? Why is your phone switched off? Elder son originally didn't want to pick up the unfamiliar phone. He hesitated for a moment and then picked up. Then, he heard little Lady Xing's voice and immediately questioned her angrily. My phone is broken. Little Lady Xing's ears were almost deafened. She quickly moved the phone a little further away and stammered. Broken? How did it break? I couldn't get through to you before. Why did you change your number now? Did something happen? Elder son immediately fired off a barrage of questions. I'm fine. Previously, when I was following Xiao Chun, there was an accident. My phone was smashed. Little Lady Xing simply explained why she couldn't get through to him. You saved him? Then did he discover that you were following him? Did you expose the true purpose of our sect? Elder son's voice suddenly became a lot more serious. It sounded dangerous and oppressive. Elder son thought in his heart, could it be that what that person said was true? Was this girl really used by Xiao Chun? No. After he found out that I saved him, he was very grateful to me. Then, little Lady Xing stuttered as she used Xiao Chun's excuse. Her voice was a little shaky. Could elder son believe this kind of nonsensical reason? What? Elder son took a deep breath. You said that he was attracted to both men and women. In order to court you, he even gave you his phone to use? Yes. I was afraid that you wouldn't be able to find me. I was worried about my situation here. So, I used his phone to call you. Little Lady Xing nodded. What was with elder son's attitude? Did he believe her or not? At this moment, elder son's heart was in turmoil. He was frightened by little Lady Xing's words. He secretly thought to himself that it was fortunate that he didn't personally follow Xiao Chun. He didn't expect this guy to have such a strange hobby. If a handsome and elegant person like him were to follow Xiao Chen, wouldn't he be taken advantage of by Xiao Chen? As for little Lady Xing's weak words, he didn't care. It was one thing to be pursued by someone. However, as a woman, she was actually being pursued by a man. It was normal for her to be in a mess. Elder son. Elder son. Little Lady Xing didn't hear Elder son's voice for a long time. She was a little nervous and tried to call him. Huh. That's right. I received a tip-off that you spoke up for Xiao Chen during the Jia clan's meeting and interfered with their clan's internal affairs. What's going on? Elder son came to his senses and hurriedly cleared his throat before asking in all seriousness. It's because Xiao Chen chased me. So he specially brought me there. He said that he wanted me to see his strength. Little Lady Xing felt that Elder son's tone was a little gentle. She guessed that her excuse was over and continued to answer. See his strength? Why did he bring you in? He's using our reputation to do his own dirty work. Why didn't you stop him? Elder son said with slight dissatisfaction. For the sake of the sect's future, I didn't dare to fall out with him. I had no choice but to let him speak nonsense. Little Lady Xing said with a face full of grievance. I also know that this isn't good. Didn't I immediately call you after the meeting ended? Alright, I'll let it go this time. Next time pay more attention. Don't let him borrow strength to fight. This can easily cause problems. Elder son muttered to himself for a while. He felt that little Lady Xing's words made sense, and decided not to haggle over it anymore. Alright, Elder Sunday. Next Little Lady Xing nodded her head. She hesitated and opened her mouth to ask again. Her heart was anxious. She didn't know if the sect would directly summon her back to prevent this kind of thing from happening again. Oh, that it's been hard on you these few days. For the remaining time, you should continue to follow him. As for how to deal with Xiao Chen, the sect still hasn't come to a conclusion, so you need to persevere a little longer. The sect will remember your contributions. Elder son replied seriously. Chapter 1078. You still want to follow me? But, little girl Xing was secretly happy, but on the surface, she still hesitated. This is the sect's order. It must be carried out. Elder son emphasized, then slowed down and said, Okay, I have to go get busy. You should pay attention to your own safety. If there is no special situation, don't contact me too often. Otherwise, it will be easy for Xiao Chen to find out. I also know that you are working hard. I will help you report this and apply for a reward. That's all. After saying this, Elder son hurriedly hung up the phone. Little girl Xing stared blankly at the phone in her hand. After a long time, she shook her head with a trace of astonishment and amusement. She turned around and walked in the direction of Xiao Chen and Jia Muzhen. Mother **Ker, Xiao Chen, that bastard. Why didn't he get hit by a car and die? Jia Huiyan returned to his room with a belly full of anger. Thinking of Xiao Chen's arrogant and despotic face, he felt even more upset. Ever since he was young, when had he ever suffered this kind of humiliation? In his anger, he smashed everything in the room that could be smashed and walked around like a furious lion. Originally, Jia Huiyan planned to give Jia Muzhen a show of strength today. He wanted to make him lose face at the family meeting and embarrass him. Moreover, under the agitation of the crowd, Jia Huiyan had no choice but to change his mind and support the marriage between Jia Huiyan and Tian So, thus betraying the brotherhood of Xiao Chen. Jia Huiyan had even prepared the subsequent chain of plans. Jia Huiyan planned to find an opportunity to poison Jia Muzhen after the meeting, causing him to die suddenly. He wanted to create a false impression that he felt sorry for Xiao Chen. So he left behind a suicide note and committed suicide with poison. Once Jia Muzhen died, wouldn't the position of patriarch become vacant again? Who would have thought that this was only the first step? But all of his previous efforts were wasted. How could Jia Huiyan not be sullen? A good game of chess was blocked by Xiao Chen's first step. When Jia Yubian pushed open the door and entered, he saw Jia Huiyan's sinister expression and bloodshot eyes. Look at you. You only suffered a little setback, and you look like you're about to die. Jia Yubian frowned. He thought to himself that this child was really spoiled by him. He had never encountered a crisis before. He didn't even learn how to remain calm in the face of danger. How is this a little setback? I can't even use the things I had planned before. It's all that damn Xiaoqin's fault. Jia Huiyan shouted in dissatisfaction. His heart was filled with hatred towards Xiaoqin. Don't worry. I don't think this is over yet. We still have a way out. Jia Yubian shook his head and said calmly. After all, he had eaten more rice than Jia Huiyan for many years, and was much more experienced. From Jia Yubian's point of view, it was too easy to quietly kill Jia Muzin and Xiaoqin. Moreover, he didn't need to think about so many roundabout reasons. Really, father? You can kill them? Jia Huiyan stared blankly and hastily asked. His eyes were so bright that they were almost emitting green light. He couldn't wait to strangle the two of them to death right now. Nonsense. You are my son. Why would I lie to you? Jia Yubian rolled his eyes at Jia Huiyan and said snappily. Then quickly tell me, what should we do next? Please give me some pointers. As long as I can kill one of them, no matter how big the price is, I am willing to do it. Jia Huiyan immediately helped Jia Yubian move a chair over, and looked at him eagerly. Jia Yubian smiled sinisterly and said indifferently, since Jia Muzin doesn't know how to retreat in the face of difficulties, then let's just kill him. We will use the method you used before. As long as we are careful when we use the poison, it will be fine. Still use the method you used before? Jia Huiyan frowned. But I didn't make him promise to give me the Tang sour horn. He has no reason to commit suicide. Although there is no reason, there are so many people who hate him. How would we know who did it? Jia Yubian said carelessly. Moreover, your grandfather is an old fool. He may not be able to find out who did it. If we can frame Xiaoqin or Jia Tuyao, that would be the best. Ha ha ha. That's true. Jia Huiyan thought for a while and nodded in agreement. In any case, the winner takes all. When he dies, who cares how he died? That's right. You are worth teaching. Jia Yubian glanced at Jia Huiyan with approval. Jia Huiyan thought that he could continue to carry out the plan. His previous dejected look was swept away. He slapped his thigh and said, Oh right, a few days ago, Tang Qianling sent me a little girl. Although she is a bit dumb, she is quite obedient. If I tell her to go east, she won't dare to go west. I can send her to poison him. Little girl, are you willing to do that? Jia Yubian joked. It's nothing. The woman sent by Tang Qianling is probably not a virgin. He must have played with her already, so I'm not interested. Jia Huiyan waved his hand carelessly. Let her go. In this way, even if she is discovered, it doesn't matter. After all, she is just a scapegoat. I won't feel bad if she is punished. Oh, then how do you plan to poison him? Jia Yubian nodded and asked. According to the original plan, I will find a chance to poison Jia Muzin when he is alone. Now, Jia Huiyan's eyes turned, and his expression was a bit secretive. I plan to let the little girl go to the kitchen in the morning, and put poison in Jia Muzin's breakfast. Will this work? Jia Yubian frowned and objected. The Jia family's kitchen door has a detection device on all year round. No matter who goes in, they will go through this test. This is to prevent people from bringing in poison or explosives. Hee, father, you don't know about this. Jia Huiyan smiled confidently. Do you think that I will accept a second-hand product that Tang Qianling gave me if it is useless? That little girl has a natural poison body. She has 5 poisons in her body. She doesn't need to bring any poison. She is a moving poison warehouse, and it is absolutely impossible to detect. Oh, that's really possible. Jia Yubian's eyes lit up, but his expression was a bit doubtful. He asked with a little surprise. But, why did Tang Qianling come here for no reason? I'm afraid it is not as simple as giving you a 5 poisons girl, right? Would he be so kind? Based on his understanding of Tang Qianling, this kid was also a person who would not get up early without benefits. He was usually busy with cultivation and accumulating wealth. If there was no important matter, he would definitely not come to the Jia family easily. Oh, he mainly came to deliver the 5 poisons secret manual to Tang Quanjiao. After he came, he stayed in the Jia family for a few days. After seeing that Tang Quanjiao was not in any danger after cultivating the secret manual, he returned home and went to cultivate on his own. Jia Huiyan explained. Deliver the secret manual? Would this kid be so kind? Jia Yubian knocked on the table and looked like he was deep in thought. I keep feeling that there is something strange about this. After all, Tang Quanjiao will be a member of the Jia family in the future. Wouldn't it be a waste of the Tang family's resources to let her cultivate the 5 poisons secret manual? If she really mastered it, the Jia family will have one more poison expert. This is very disadvantageous to the Tang family. You're tuning in to the Journey of the Soul YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.